drink here that's right beside me. And
Bought some cheap wine today. On that note,
you bought some what?
Wine. Just decided to go to the liquor store.
What type of wine do you drink?
I was looking for honey mead, which is not really a wine. It's just a honey-based. I don't know what to call it.
You can make that.
A mead? Yeah, I know. I've heard about homemade meads lately.
Mead's kind of gross, though.
I thought the one I got for my birthday was real good, and it made me feel like Skyrim, so I was into it. Because that's what you drink in that world.
Right.
That's all they have. So
Right.
I was like, I want that, because that's a thing I like.
Fair enough.
And, I don't know, it was sweet tasting. I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, they didn't have it at all, so I just ended up getting like rosé or something, which is some sort of fruity wine. I guess it's like, oh, this is anti-wine connoisseur or whatever, because you got to get that oaky, bad, dry taste, but with all the richness.
That's not really that true. A good wine doesn't taste crappy.
Well, I used crappy to describe that thing that people seem to like. The dryness. I don't like, it's like, oh, yeah, you can barely tell this is moisture. Gross. But people like it, I guess. They can detect, pinch of sage was in it or something. I don't know. I don't know. But I just like it to, oh, this is sweet tasting, like a sweet fruit punch.
Mm-hmm.
But then you feel good after. So that's what I want. So yeah,
Gotcha.
I just bought some of that. There was another one from California. I can't remember what it's called. They have that valley down there with the wine.
Napa Valley.
Presumably, yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
boom. Groceries.
There you go.
Call it. Yeah. Hey. What's up?
Hey, so you've been gone for a while.
Yeah, September had to happen. Right, I was going to add that to the list of things that happened. School Showdown 2012. It went down. I won, I think.
You
I
won
killed
for now.
possessions. I shanked them all.
Okay.
And I think they were probably good enough to warrant a passing grade, but we'll find out.
Right.
That's the part that's still a mystery.
And, in that regard, you and I haven't really been communicating at all because
I had to go into lockdown, yeah.
Well, and I mean, I pretty much just forgot that you existed because I knew you had to, so it wasn't even a thought to message you about anything.
Yeah, well, I guess I appreciate that for letting me do that, because, I don't know, procrastination, it's a thing I do, and I need that intense deadline scenario, though, for me to do anything. Or
and you need that paper at the end of all of this.
I guess.
You steady chasing that paper, just like Rihanna and T.I. said.
I think they were talking about money.
Education is worth more than money, my friend.
Oh, maybe, yeah, there's a whole other layer to that song. Like, you think they're just talking about material wealth, but they're actually saying, go to school.
Yeah, I mean, really, they were talking about you, specifically.
Oh, okay. Weird. I didn't know they knew about my plight, but...
Yeah, well, maybe you should answer your phone more so you could talk to them.
Oh, right. I guess, yeah, I didn't even check the album notes or something. It's probably, my name's probably right in there.
Right.
Hey, this wouldn't have been possible.
Since you guys are all tight.
Well, kind of.
I mean, you can't see it right now, but I'm doing the thing with your fingers twisted around each other. You know what I mean?
Me and Rihanna, yeah, we hung out at Coachella. It was awesome.
Right.
This is not true. She was apparently there, though. But
did she perform?
No, she was seen smoking weed.
And she was just chilling with everybody.
Yeah, she was just enjoying Coachella.
Right on.
Yeah. I don't know why. I've just been thinking about how great that was more now. Like, I want to go to that next one, probably.
Right.
It's a bit like, it's like 5 months later, and you're just like, man, that was cool. I want to go to that again. But there's enough kind of events stacking up that I want to go see that it's getting to a point where, I don't know, I got to make some tough choices or make some of that other paper, and then I won't need to worry about it.
The more important paper.
Yeah.
Arguably, in our society anyway.
Right. Or just sign up for more than plastics.
Ooh, that's a slippery slope to go on.
I know. But that's what they do, right? It's just like, oh, debt's coming up. What do we do? Raise that ceiling. Bump up that limit.
That's right.
Get more credit.
It's the American way.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Get all that Chick-fil-A.
10
sandwiches.
10 sandwiches.
I was revisiting some old episodes.
Oh.
That's why that's in my mind right now.
Right, where someone was buying a bunch of sandwiches in support.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should rehash old material. A lot of great new stuff happened in the weeks. I mean, I was working on school, but I was also getting my media on
Right.
at the same time.
Well, I mean, 2 weeks worth, yeah.
Yeah, so seeing some movies, shows, and stuff.
Mhm.
I guess actually, to touch on a point you guys made like 2 weeks ago about Borderlands 2.
Mhm.
Like, you guys were so savage to that dude. What was he, the writer for the New Yorker or something? Like, what was he writing for?
For Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mostly agreed with like some of the stuff you said. Like, it's they just got the wrong guy. Like, they got a guy who just does not have enough background in this subject matter to make an educated opinion.
Well,
right?
I was the one saying, playing devil's advocate, really, and saying that it's kind of a good thing because the people that read the Wall Street Journal, they're probably not gamers, because gamers would go to IGN, they'd go to GameSpot, Giant Bomb, whatever, for specific stuff like that for their niche.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, getting an outsider to do a review for outsiders, in my mind, was still kind of okay.
No, yeah, but I think it's more just like I would compare it to, like, you don't go to the guy who's seen like 10 movies in his life to review movies. Like, that would be a silly decision.
But it also makes sense that he would be bringing up stuff like Call of Duty and Halo, because to the parent that doesn't know much about gaming, those are the games that they hear about.
Right. So making a comparison to something that they haven't even heard of wouldn't help anybody. It's kind of like Diablo, but with a little bit of that opposing force, and you're just like, I don't know what those are.
Right.
People should probably know what Diablo is, but I don't know.
Probably not. Like, I mean, if you think general public, Diablo, probably not. I don't think we're at that point yet still.
I just thought Blizzard had that cultural cachet, you know? People know what they're up to.
But, like, it's hard to know that for sure because we are into the gaming stuff.
I know. So it's like, well, everyone knows about WoW. And it's like, well, actually, 12 million people play it, and there's 300 million people in America, so there's a lot of people not playing WoW.
Because, like, my parents know what Diablo is, and the only reason is because I played it. They didn't know what World of Warcraft is until I got deep into that, and they have no idea what StarCraft is at all.
Okay.
So, like, Blizzard to them is not a thing.
Right. Yeah,
Blizzard to them is what we don't want to get.
Lose that perspective of being, like, so into the industry all the time that you're just like, well, everyone knows about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, like, got to a point where I just assumed everyone's heard of Minecraft by now, but my uncle was just like, I've never heard of that. And you're just like, oh, it's kind of like Lego?
Right, like digital Lego or something.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, weird. I was under the impression everyone has this already.
Right.
Like, it's an old topic now, but not for most people. It's weird.
Yeah.
Shows that we have a lot of ways to go, man, before there's, like, a Spielberg.
So, like, for the Wall Street Journal thing, I definitely understood why that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I
just thought you guys were kind of harsh.
Totally. Like,
but I get why you were angry. But yeah,
I wasn't ever really angry. But like, I had the Awful Gamer guys on here, and they're known for speaking before they like see someone else's point of view. So that's great. I actually love talking to those guys for that reason, because they do the same thing I do and just start talking. Mm-hmm. Without like thinking about the repercussions.
It out loud for your benefit.
Right. So they were doing that part, and I was just like, well, blah blah blah, and then they'd be like, no, fuck that guy. If you want to message him, here's his Twitter.
Yeah, let's burn this down. And it's just like, okay.
I liked it. It was a good time. I love those guys.
Yeah. I don't know. Just that was one of the things that stood out, and I guess also the Bayonetta 2 craziness, but whatever. We don't need to address that far back. I actually kind of want to just lead into you playing more Borderlands 2. Oh, that was the one thing. I guess, like, the one point of, like, empathy I had with the writer is, like, I'm not especially interested in Borderlands 2. So some of his criticisms were like, yeah, it sounds about right. Like, you know, like, why would I want to save this robot? Like, he's this snarky, sarcastic idiot. And you're just like, I get you, man. Some of those characters are not very good.
Right.
So I understand why you're not feeling it.
And I had specifically said that I think it's like gauche to do that as like someone who has done reviews and like people who have tweeted me saying like, no, you're just wrong. about that or whatever. Like,
thing.
I think it's weird to be the one on the other end just being like, no, he's wrong. And I don't think his opinion is wrong. It's totally fine to have that opinion. What I don't like is when you don't have a leg to stand on with your facts to back it up. That was the only thing.
Stuff seemed kind of like
just because the stuff he was saying didn't make sense in my mind and it wasn't working out for me. But that's also probably because I am my brain is tied closely into the industry of gaming, so like I understand things he's probably overlooking. Okay. It's just still kind of weird for me because it's just like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. So,
but like that doesn't. Yeah, but I guess like that doesn't mean necessarily he's wrong in saying some people might really not like Borderlands 2. Like from everything I've seen and read about Borderlands 2 since it came out, I have no interest in playing that game. It just doesn't look like my game.
Right.
So, like, how have you beaten it?
No. So the night it came out, I actually was off work the next day. Okay. So I played for about 8 hours of it, the first 12 hours it came out. And that weekend, that came out on a Tuesday night or whatever. And that weekend, I went up to visit my parents and did some other stuff. And then I didn't have internet when I got back for all of last week up until last night, really, due to some circumstances and whatnot here at home that I wasn't able to take care of because I was in Edmonton. So I've been picking and pawing at it since. I've probably logged a total of 20 hours into it.
Okay.
But I mean, I've been enjoying every minute of it. That is my game, so I'm totally fine with it.
What, like, I guess going into it, the one thing I was hoping maybe they would put more thought into was, I don't know if it's even the narrative, but just that side of it. Like, do you care about what's happening?
In what regard?
Like, it's like, are you just looking for a better vault or something? Like, what is the thing you're taking down?
So the basic storyline, I guess, is that in the first one, the Vault Hunters were going after this vault because the angel or whatever that was talking to you was just like telling you how there's a bunch of loot in there, so that's what you were going for.
Okay, yeah.
But really, the vault was actually a thing that was holding in this like crazy ancient thing. Yeah, exactly. Basically, the CEO, the owner of Hyperion Tech, is kind of a dick. Mm-hmm. And he has been...
Handsome Jack, right?
Handsome Jack, yeah. He's been controlling Angel, so she's actually been working against you in the first one. So, like, all of that stuff wasn't... Like, they lied to you, basically. And now this... Like, he's trying to open a vault with this monster thing called the Warrior, which has the power to, like, destroy everything.
Okay.
So, with the vault key and opening the vault, whoever does that controls this power. Mm-hmm. So that's what he's going after, and you're basically trying to stop him. So, like, this
kind of like that movie, The Phantom, and he's Drax or whatever. I gotcha.
Yeah, right.
So, that's a terrible comparison. I haven't even seen the whole movie, but okay. So there's more loot to get, stuff to shoot, monsters to kill.
Yep.
Are there good boss battles?
Like comparatively to the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah. They fixed a lot of issues, like, you know, the whole standing in one spot and taking a huge boss down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. You have to move around. There's some strategy to some of them. I've been playing alone, I should say, because without internet...
That's kind of what I did, which apparently was not the way to play Borderlands, but...
Well, the way I play Borderlands 1 is that I got it at the same time with two other friends for the PS3, and every time we wanted to play, we would text each other to log on. Mm-hmm. So we would play through it all together. And then after that, when I was a high enough level, I just, like, broke away and just started doing the side missions by myself and exploring a little bit more and doing the DLC alone. And then that was fine because everything was easy at that point, and it was just a matter of taking in the world and, like, the comedy and the writing and everything like that, and not having to worry about the mechanics of the actual game. Mm-hmm. So with this game specifically now, I'm doing it the opposite way, where I'm playing alone, and I'm enjoying it a lot better because I actually like the strategy part. I don't like running in and just laying waste to everything. I like standing back, taking out the biggest guy with headshots with a sniper rifle, using my skills to get all my health back when I'm low and just like doing that sort of thing. So I like strategizing more than I just like blowing shit up, and that's why I've been having more fun with this game now.
So you a siren or whatever?
I am a siren, yeah.
Okay. All right. Like I guess it's the new hotness. People really like it. But
It's a polarizing game. People that aren't into it don't like it at all, and people that
okay.
are into it like it quite a bit.
A lot of meme humor is another thing I've been seeing.
Internet in general, more than just meme. But yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
I guess that's the thing.
you listen to the old Podtoid
The old one? Yeah, like some years ago.
with like Topher, Jim, Anthony,
Yeah.
Aaron, all of those guys,
Mm-hmm.
Brad. Um, listening to that a lot, like this game is Anthony, basically.
Okay.
The way he talks, his mannerisms, and like ridiculous things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good comedic timing and all that. The writing I like quite a bit, but yeah, like when you remember that Anthony Birch is the writer on it,
It just makes sense.
It makes sense. Exactly.
Okay. Whereas he was the guy always talking up Far Cry 2 being really impressive. So I think I wanted it to take notes from that game or something, but it doesn't sound like they really did that.
Well, it's not like he had any control over anything but like narrative.
Yeah, putting words in there.
Right.
It's like, oh, we're gonna actually change the design doc on Borderlands 2. Really change things up.
And it sounds like even with the words part, a lot of the jokes and like inside humor was like them in the office bantering and like going back and forth, just talking about what would be funny.
Okay.
So like he probably, while he had the last say, I'm sure with a lot of it, he probably got a lot of help from everybody.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of dialogue in that game, and like a lot of weird little references and jokes and stuff. So.
Okay. I guess one more question I asked John and Sean this: how are the sunrises and sunsets in that game?
They're stunning.
They're actually really good.
From what I remember, they're actually okay. Like, I haven't stopped and just looked for a sun.
Mm-hmm.
I think what happens more than a sun actually rising into the sky is that it might, like, the color palette might change.
Mm-hmm.
So slowly. So like it's okay. It's pretty, like, I don't know. You don't notice it very much. I haven't, like I said, I haven't stopped, looked at a horizon and saw if I could see a sun coming up yet.
Okay.
Because a lot of the time changes in the game have actually happened to me while I've been inside somewhere.
Oh, okay.
So like,
you come out of that dungeon you were in, and you're just like, oh, it's daytime now. All right.
well, not even necessarily a dungeon. Like, I'd be outside in one of the like instanced areas, like in an outdoor thing, and then I would run to like my objective, and then when I came out of that instanced area, it would be dark outside. So like a lot of times that would happen, but there have been a few times where it has changed from dusk till night to night. Yep.
All right. Borderlands 2. If you want to play it, you probably already have it. I don't know. Like,
if you want to play it and you have it on PC, add me exposure on Steam. I'll probably play with you.
Okay. I won't be doing that. So,
putting
a pass on that one.
Okay.
It will not be on my list of games of the year.
What about Torchlight 2?
Does it rank on that for you? Or?
Yeah, it's a high contender.
Oh, okay.
As is another game I played, but we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
Just going with the whole computer multiplayer thing, and it came out the week after. How's Torchlight 2 so far treating you?
Alright. So I'm one of these kids that grew up with a controller in my hand.
Yes.
And I played that port of the first one at your house, and I really liked the controller, you know?
Yeah.
That control scheme they had set up for it was pretty good. Like 5 minutes into Torchlight 2, I was like, dude, does this not have controller support? What the hell? Yeah. I mean, obviously it's that clicky Diablo type experience, so it has a lot of heritage with the mouse and everything. I just don't find that satisfying at all. It's just like click, 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 click. It died. And you're just like, I want to hit it with the, I don't know, this doesn't have the impact, the tactile thing I want from shooting and hitting stuff. So, I don't know. It was totally one of those games, but I have no inherent nostalgia for those games, so I don't really know how much I'm going to get out of it going forward.
Do you think your opinion would change if, like, I jumped in with you and, like, 2 other people and we just kind of did that?
Like, slightly, but, like, yeah, I kind of was like, well, maybe I'll just save this for multiplayer and just kind of roll around with people and we'll click on all the stuff. But it's just a kind of game I don't like. What are you doing? Like, you're just chasing that next level, kind of, is the thing, and the loot, and that stuff's cool. Like, I think that I made a good decision in I went with veteran difficulty, which is 1 notch above normal.
Yeah.
Which does kind of force you to keep managing your character and equipping the coolest stuff so you can deal with those monsters. So it's not just a cakewalk like the normal mode Torchlight 1 was.
Right.
So there's some good challenge there and stuff, but I don't know. It like this week was kind of me fishing around for something to really sink into, and I basically spent like half an hour with like 3 different games just trying to kind of see if anything really stuck, and it not yet. So it's not like I'm giving up on it or anything. It's just like, nah, this isn't what I'm feeling right now. I jam through those other 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Humble Indie Bundle happened, so I ended up with a bunch of stuff. So I tried Jamestown, which is like bullet hell shooter.
Yeah, I really like that game.
It has some cool like mechanics in it in terms of kind of like giving you new stuff that you unlock.
Well, it is online 4-player co-op, right?
Ideally, yes. I was playing by myself.
Right.
That seems like another like multiplayer thing that would be better that way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I only ended up spending like 20 minutes with that. I was like, all right, it's kind of arcadey and you shoot stuff. Weird premise maybe, like it's set in like the 1600s or something, but with flying stuff, flying castles. And, like John Smith shows up like from Pocahontas, except you're flying and shooting things.
Right.
Which like steampunk, I guess, is what that is, kind of retro future. I'm not sure how the music seemed appropriate to the setting, but I didn't like it much. That was the thing that stood out. It's just being like, I want hot, crunchy jams when I'm shooting stuff, and this is more kind of like moody or something. I don't know. These are like 20-minute opinions, so it just didn't grab hold of me and be like, yeah, I gotta play more of this right now. It was like, yeah, this seems alright. It was like a nickel or something because I got 12 games for like $6, so I feel fine. That the math doesn't work out on that. Don't 50 cents. But yeah. Then I also played Gratuitous Space Battles, which is kind of another, like, along with FTL, kind of like a Star Trek type thing that kind of scratches a itch in a certain way, but I got more into FTL at the time. But this seemed kind of neat too. Basically, you have a whole fleet you're commanding, and you just kind of set them up for a battle, and then watch a space battle play out between 2 fleets of ships, and they're like shooting each other and stuff. And there's some nice graphical effects on it, like they're shooting through their shields and stuff. You have like a bunch of fighters, or it's kind of like the big battle that goes down at the end of Return of the Jedi. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
So yeah, you have different size ships and everything, and you can kind of what you're essentially doing is setting up what kind of AI stuff they'll do. Like it's like how aggressive are they, within which range will they start attacking stuff. If they're damaged, will they run or will they stay at it? You know, and then you're kind of tweaking their equipment and stuff too. So yeah, kind of just managing a fleet of spaceships, and it looks kind of cool when you're actually watching those battles play out. But yeah, again, like 20 minutes. So I think at this point I'm really feeling like I might just end up going through my That Game Company collection or playing Killer 7. Like, I'm just in a weird mood.
It's kind of weird you bring that up. I bought Killer 7.
That's a good game.
Like,
at least I think it was. I haven't played it in like 7 years.
All right. Sorry, I'm just going to quickly go through this because this happened the other day here.
Oh, okay.
So I paid about $20 and I got a bunch of games. So I bought Killer 7 for the PS2, and I got for free with it Shadow the Hedgehog.
Okay.
Aw, yeah.
Yeah, Batitude.
That's right. The new Splatterhouse on PS3.
I
I
heard
got
that
that.
was okay.
I got that for a
It's
couple
kind of
bucks.
fun.
I think I got that for like 5.
All right, I was actually thinking about that game recently. It was just like, oh yeah, that was like a dumb action game that came out, but I heard it was kind of just goofy and gory,
Right.
like you want. But okay, Splatterhouse.
For the SNES, I got some nostalgic hockey games from my past for $1
Hmm.
each.
Okay.
So NHL Stanley Cup
Okay.
and NHL 95.
Oh, okay. So Super Nintendo.
Yeah, from my
Oh,
past there.
gotcha.
And they're still regarded as some of the better ones from that era.
Okay.
And then just for shits and giggles, for $1, I got NFL Blitz 2000
Nice.
for the N64. So I'm thinking a streaming night is due, probably. And we'll probably Blitz. Yeah.
Okay. Jeff Gersman's go-to champion game. The
I just
arcade
thought I
one.
would throw that in because, Killer 7, and I hadn't owned that game before, so I was
Mhm.
super excited that I was able to pick it up.
I'm just really like I have like a lot of pretty distinct memories of things that happened in it, but like I just kind of want to be like, was it rose-colored glasses or is this like game good or what? Like I just want to go back and revisit it.
Maybe that's the one we should stream.
Oh, okay, maybe I'll get reaccustomed to it though, just to kind of be like, so I'm not totally clueless when I'm there.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll have things to say instead of like, I don't remember anything about this. Yeah. Oh, this guy's Dan. I remember now. Oh, this guy flips you off when you talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's things in that game. It had a certain sense of style and wit, maybe.
Well, that was a Grasshopper one, right?
Yeah, it was one of their earlier kind of who are these guys? Like kind of standouts. So,
Right.
yeah, Suda 51. That was really the first time I heard about that dude doing stuff.
I love
So-
Suda.
He's pretty cool. I'm thinking about going back to No More Heroes 2 as well. Finally get over that hump that I bumped into last time. Basically the game froze on me, I think, after a big fight, and I was just like, ugh, I don't want to do that.
I still haven't beat No More Heroes 1, so I wasn't able to go to 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One day I'll revisit it.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure where I'm going to go in terms of games I'm going to sink into, but the stuff this week just didn't really take hold.
Tell me a little bit about Super Hexagon, because I don't know anything about it.
Oh man, okay, so I've done a little more, like I gave some early impressions on top-down perspective about it, but since then I found out who, like, where this comes from. This is Terry Kavanagh, the VVVV guy.
Okay.
VVVV. Sorry, there was a sixth V.
Yeah.
So kind of like simple, like music focused thing. But like, I mean, the music wasn't the focus in VVV. It's not really here either technically, but it really adds a lot to it. Very simple game in terms of gameplay. That is the thing people keep praising about. It is like just pure Twitch-based, like reflex gameplay. Like it is basically testing your reaction time all the time. You are in a spinning vortex type thing. Like there's a hexagon at the center of the screen that's just pulsating, and stuff is collapsing in on it, like you're fleeing from a black hole or something kind of thing. And you move left or right to kind of just fly through these mazes that are closing in on you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's rock and chip tunes playing the whole time, and it's all kind of bumping to that kind of BPM or whatever. It looks awesome. But yeah, like it's just survival. You just have to last a minute in each level to kind of unlock the next level. And yeah, it's just you get kind of just through repetition, you just get accustomed to the types of obstacles you'll face in that stage.
Okay.
And you just have to kind of be able to react appropriately when those come up. So you just kind of get in this weird trance zone type place, and you're just kind of like in this bumping visual craziness. It's pretty awesome. Okay, like not to kind of like he just perfectly expressed it, and it's definitely worth sharing. Chris Remo of Idle Thumbs described it as being the best approximation of like bullet time type, like that temporal thing it does, because how fast the game gets, if you go back to a previous stage, it literally feels like you're going in slow motion, and it's awesome.
Okay.
But it's just as fast as it ever was, but it's just because your reflexes are now tuned to like a higher rate of speed.
Right.
You can kind of do really awesome looking things.
So the game's actually training you to be better at the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like if you like, I ended up finally looking it up. Like, there's video of Terry Kavanagh playing the last stage, which is insane. Like, I accidentally started playing it thinking it was the last level, but it's just spinning so fast and everything, and the obstacles that are coming up just look crazy. And yeah, like he just does a really awesome run on it, and it's just like, it seems crazy because you haven't seen him build up to that point, so you just see like this grandmaster doing all these crazy moves.
Right.
But everyone who invests enough time with it will, like, the game will slowly build you up to that level just through like pure trial and error. Like, it is trial and error kind of stuff, but the gameplay is like so fast. It's like, well, I just spent like 30 seconds, so whatever. And 30 seconds is actually a really good run. More likely on the stage I'm at now, it's like, all right, 12 seconds. Whew, that was rough. That was crazy. And then, yeah, I actually haven't played it in a little bit because that third level, it's just brutal, man. Like, and that's 3 of 6, so it's starting to really take me to school.
So now is it like
But
riding a bike where you'll be able to pick it up maybe in 2 months and do it again, or would you have to start all over again to get attuned to that level?
get those reflexes back?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I don't know. I think it's kind of muscle memory type stuff in a way. Like, you just kind of get like accustomed to how it goes. So it might be like a bike thing where you'll just be able to pick it up again. I'm not sure.
Cool.
But yeah, just a cool, cheap little thing. Like, I think it's $3 normally. It was like $1 on the launch sale or whatever. I think that might still be in effect, but I can't say for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't love VVVVV exactly. Like, I played it a little bit, but this was the first time I was like, all right, this is great. Who made this? And I was like, oh, it's this guy. He's a well-established dude already. It's like, oh, okay. So yeah, I don't know. It's a neat little thing. Like, in a weird way, like, it's I don't know. The iPhone's really been impressing me this year to the point where it's like I kind of want to put some of these as front runners for just interesting gaming thought experiments. As being like, yeah, it's top 10, bro. It's awesome. Super Hexagon, because it's just so stripped down to it's like the most simple thing ever. But yeah, it's worth it.
Cool.
Yeah, there you go. I still endorse that game.
There you go. So I played Metroid Other M finally the other day.
Oh, okay.
The other day being a week ago.
There aren't robots in that. I didn't see that on the list, so
it's not on there because I'm just kind of throwing it in as a thing. It's not as bad as people say it is so far.
Okay. Like, I was at a store today and it was $10. Should I have bought it?
Oh, how into the old games are you?
I like Super Metroid quite a bit, and I actually have feelings for Metroid 2 that a lot of people don't.
I like Metroid 2 quite a bit, actually.
Yeah.
That's the one where it's just like, yo, Metroids, go get them, right?
I know, which is...
I love it.
Briefly, I touched on this on Top Down, and I haven't played more since then, but that's what I was hoping Hell Yeah was.
Isn't it?
Not really, because it just guides you very specifically to the next dudes. So it's not just like, there's a big-ass open area, there's 100 things, you gotta find them. And I was like, sweet, that's awesome.
What I was under the impression that's what it was.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was like, dude, are you serious? This is Metroid 2 meets, like, WarioWare minigames in this crazy, like, Sega-looking world. I want to play this. And
meets
it was like,
bunnies.
Meets bunnies, yeah. Like, all sorts of things I was into. And then it's like, it's actually really linear, but we're not gonna really make that apparent in the opening chapter. And it's like, oh. Like, it's like, you can only go to the next area once you've killed a certain amount of monsters, and that's where the next monsters are. So it's very, very clearly guiding you through all these stuff.
Gross.
I got, like, probably just past a third into it, and I was just like, man, I just wish this was Metroid 2. Someone take notes from Metroid 2 and make a Metroid 2 game.
Right.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, so yeah, I like Metroid. Is this one good?
It's okay so far. Apparently from what people are saying, where it fails is the story, and obviously I wouldn't know anything about that yet, because I've only played about an hour of it.
Well, it's one of the few times in a Metroid game where there's, like, talking characters, right? Like, Fusion,
yes.
I think, had that, but this is much more so than ever before, which I can totally see why someone would have issues with that, because, like, most of what I appreciate about Metroid is, like, it's not about explicit story, it's about spooky mood.
Yes.
You're alone on a creepy planet, and you don't really know what happened, and you gotta go explore, and then you just find weird things, and you're just like, wow, there's all these corpses. What went down? It's just kind of messed up. Whereas this is like a dude talking to you in your ear all the time, right?
Like, kind of. It's not so bad where I'm at yet. Like,
Okay.
it had all the intro stuff where you're in a training room where, like, it takes place right after the events of Super Metroid. So Samus is, like, kind of recuperating at headquarters or wherever. And, like, she's having these weird dreams / memories about Mother Brain and, like, the baby Metroid that saved her.
Yeah.
And all that sort of thing. And, like, that part...
Interesting, so...
That's really cool. That's like the opening FMV stuff. A lot of that stuff, though, however, really shows the Wii's hardware limitations where you're just thinking the whole time, man, if this was an HD, it would be great. So that's kind of rough. It has the whole exploration thing. I know a lot of people weren't too keen on the like auto-aiming thing.
Well, it's like, is it like pseudo side-scrolling and then first-person bits or something? Like what? Like a...
When you're holding the controller like a brick, like normally horizontally, it's third-person isometric, not platformer. It's kind of like the old-style game, like a 2D scroller, but in 3D isometric view.
Okay.
So it's okay. It's serviceable, and that's when the auto-aiming happens. Like, if you're facing an enemy and you shoot, she'll target the enemy. And I'm okay with that because, she's a bounty hunter. She knows how to shoot and aim. That's fine. And it makes you feel like more of a badass. There's another system they have in there where if you dodge like an enemy's projectile at the right time, like at the last minute, you'll dodge and do a shot as you're dodging at the enemy, and you just feel like a badass doing that. So that's pretty great. Then you would flip the Wiimote and go into first person to scan stuff and to aim and whatnot. I've never been a fan of the Metroid Prime games, so whatever to that. I don't care.
I like the first one quite a bit.
I don't like first-person Metroid at all. It bothers me. So
I found they managed to kind of get that same spookiness going in the first one.
In the first one, for sure. The third one, from what I played, I wasn't into at all.
I was so bad at it. Like, 2, I actually didn't have that many issues with. I just found the environments less interesting than the first one. But
and then the
3,
Wiimote introduction?
3, I was, like, physically unable to play that game
Absolutely.
properly. Like,
and then when you get used to it, you just don't care.
It was just like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, do you just aim at, Ridley's face and it's fine? And it was just like, no, dude, I literally can't shoot it in the face. I can't hold my hand steady enough to line up the shot and hold it down long enough for that to happen. It was just like, I don't have Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or anything. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I couldn't enjoy it.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway.
I guess
Get stressed out about Metroid Prime 3. It's bringing back memories.
I guess my main thing is Other M so far is pretty good, and y'all just haters.
Oh, okay.
That's all I'm saying.
It was kind of dismissed, wasn't it? And it was like, Team Ninja reboot. I don't want to play it.
Like, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. For what I like Metroid for, where you're just exploring, it's totally serviceable so far.
I'm gonna see what the reviews were like, but yeah, okay.
So I'm gonna jump to Sega. I finished Binary Domain.
All right.
And that game is ridiculous.
I got that much. I saw, yeah.
There's a few things I'd want to go into, but I won't because it would ruin anything that game might offer in terms of motivation to see a surprise at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of delivers. It's kind of weird, though. Like, think akin to the whole Fast and Furious where, like, Vin Diesel and The Rock are fighting, and then 5 minutes later they're like, yo, we're good.
That does happen in that movie. Yeah.
Something like that kind of happens in Binary Domain with one character where everyone's against them.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on it's like, well, they were part of our crew, so it's cool, let's do it. It's like, what? You were just about to kill that person.
Did they give did the guy have a really good rebuttal to why they shouldn't do that? And they're just like, oh man, you're right. Oh.
No, and the person...
Or he was
that...
double-crossed somebody or something?
The one team member that everyone was wanting to kill is kind of like a boss fight, and they're trying to kill you. So then, like, literally about 10 minutes after that happens, you're all together
it's no big
again.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, no biggie.
But see, the thing is, like, I kind of thought something like that would happen that whole game, which is why I didn't buy upgrades for anybody except for your main character, Dan. But, like, no, you can use all of them at some point, so, with your team. So it's fine. If, like, you're listening to this and you've been thinking about it, that is a game you should pick up for $10 to $20, play through it, and if you do, just buy upgrades for whoever. It totally doesn't matter. I had, like, 500,000 credits by the end that just were unspent, and my guy was fully upgraded to the max. So, there you go.
Okay. That game seemed charming in a way. Like, they invested their time not in kind of making it as awesome a Gears of War clone as they could. They made it a game like that with personality.
With personality. And the thing is, like, they even do some really hard-hitting, like, future robotic human relation type things.
Oh, like moral
ideas.
Quandaries about
They put some weird ideas in
rights.
there that actually resonated pretty well, especially with Dan's whole, like, history of why he hates scrapheads, even though it's kind of weird and dumb. Like, the fact that they have a backstory for that is, like, I can tell you the backstory if you want. It's not a huge revelation.
Okay. Robots killed his family.
No,
They spilled his juice at
when he
the
was
playground.
when he was a kid, robots were still just like servants. Like, they've always been just servants or whatever.
Right.
It's just that whoever controls them in this has been using them, like, against you because you're trying to get something from them and whatnot. So back when he was a kid, he was out playing or doing whatever, and his father was an abusive asshole.
Okay.
And his father beat the shit out of him and his mother specifically, and the robot did nothing to help.
Well, but it's not programmed to... What?
Right.
Okay. That seems petty, but...
Right, I know, right?
Shouldn't he hate humans?
I know, right?
Okay.
And there's just, like, this part where with him as a kid, like a flashback, where
Yeah.
he's just beating the shit out of this robot with a bat, and, like, his dad's passed out in the room right next to it, and the whole time I'm just thinking, go bash that idiot's head in. Kill him. The robot
Right.
did nothing.
Maybe he's just projecting all his rage onto robots.
Right, which also I was thinking about, and that's kind of brilliant, because all this misplaced rage with his father, like some serious daddy issues,
Yeah.
is really driving him this whole time against scrapheads.
That's so weird. Okay.
Like, it's this weird kind of back narrative that they never really get into, but they give you enough that you could create something in your head like I did. So, I don't know. It was just kind of fascinating. And some of the notes they hit with stuff is ridiculous. Like, there's a thing that happens with Big Bo at one part, and I don't know. It's just all around basically like stupid action movie, The Game, but with really somewhat accidentally thoughtful things in it.
Okay.
So, for $20
Thoughtful or ingeniously intentional? Like, it's just like, oh...
accidentally thoughtful, totally.
Okay.
I don't. If they were ingeniously thrown in there, I think they would have expanded a little bit more. Maybe that they just knew when to hold back enough to make it seem that way, though. So maybe they are geniuses. I don't know.
Okay. It's like that swirly effect.
But yeah, that's totally a game that, like, if you ever see it for $15 or whatever on the Steam store, you have to buy it.
Okay.
It's really actually pretty good. And, like, along with the story and everything, it's nice that the game has solid mechanics. I started playing with the mouse and keyboard, and I was aiming fine. I was getting headshots and everything. Actually, to backtrack a little bit even more, I guess, when I bought those games, I was actually out and I had bought a video card, so now I have a video card that can play stuff good.
Okay.
So everything was completely smooth, running 60 frames minimum for that game. Everything was fine after that. So I think it might have just been the limitations of my hardware that was making it kind of janky.
Like a little jittery for aiming and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't tried it with a controller yet, but I mean, I'm probably not going to now that I've beaten the game. I'm sure it's probably just fine, though.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's Binary Domain. Buy it.
All right. Now, a movie came out that we both saw
Yes.
that is not earning enough money at the box office right now.
Julie and
It's really
Julia.
sad. Julie and that movie destroyed at the box office.
I know.
What do you mean?
No. Sorry, keep
I
going.
saw that in the whole theater. Okay. I don't know. Yeah, you threw me off a bit. It's cool. Dredd's a movie. 3D.
Yeah,
I'm assuming you saw it in 3D as well.
I had to.
Oh right.
The theater
Yeah.
I was at in Edmonton didn't have any other option.
I think that's fine though. Like it looked real cool.
It looked
So,
fine. More
I
than
don't know if it
anything,
was like,
all the parts with slow-mo were great.
yeah.
Everything else was just kind of throwaway for the 3D. It was whatever. It was a 3D
Well,
movie.
no, you're wrong. Because there's actually the the scale of that building. I felt was kind of enhanced by just how you're looking down a giant hallway or looking up a giant tower. Like it just kind of popped a little more, maybe. I don't know, but maybe that was just the movie looked great. I guess, yeah. Like aside from the 3D, I just thought the production design of that movie was awesome.
Yeah.
Like that future skyscraper thing just looked super cool.
They totally did it right with this one.
Yeah, and that slow motion is like part of the premise of the movie.
Mhm.
Was just kind of great. But okay, so like people have been pointing this out and they're not wrong. Like, what is the big deal with slow mo? Like, it just let people do that. Like, what does it do to you? It makes everything look awesome and sparkly and slow motion. Just lighten up, yo. Let people smoke it up.
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing about being more topical with our situation, the war on marijuana and drugs and stuff.
Yeah, kind of. Like, it's just like, yo, I'd be probably part of the legalized slow-mo movement.
Right.
I didn't see much that was happening with that, making it problematic, other than, the stigma associated with it means the dudes that make it have giant guns. And if you try to step on their turf, they'll shoot you.
To be completely fair, too, slow-mo wasn't part of the issue. It was the fact that when they were bringing him in for questioning, they flipped the... Mama flipped out, and they started trying killing judges. That's the issue.
Yeah. Like, you can't go after judges. That's not a good thing. But I mean more like, that the cops would want to clamp down on slow-mo running to the point where them taking in a dude that would say, hey, yo, there's a slow-mo lab in this building would be like an issue. I don't know. Whatever. It's not worth digging into the politics of it. It's like a weird utilitarian state anyway where there's the Hall of Justice and it's kind of messed up.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know. Like, that mid-90s movie, which you revisited this week?
I did.
Okay, how do you feel about it? Because I remember seeing, like, little flickers of, like, man, this is a really cool premise. Too bad it's in this bad story, though. Like,
okay, the story is pretty terrible. The writing in general for that movie, for the original, is really quite bad.
Well, it's purposely dumb. I think it's Steven DeSouza.
No, but it's just bad. Like, the
Okay.
dialogue doesn't have, like, a comic-y, fun punch to it like it probably should if they're going for dumb. The story is completely cliche and ridiculous with no real thing except for it's his brother.
I hated that. Like,
yeah,
the villain
that was so stupid.
is so stupid. Whereas in this movie, it was just kind of like, yo, a gang. And you're just like, okay.
I'll tell you what Judge Dredd, the first one, did right. Mm-hmm. They painted a perfect dystopian future. Because I don't know, when was the last time you've seen it? Or if you remember it quite well.
It was probably like a year ago or something.
Okay, so when Rob Schneider gets out of jail at the very beginning, and they like send him to the slums or whatever, like when they're leaving where the transport area, and they're like he's going to where he's going to be living or whatever, that is still a really stunning future that they created. Because like
visually it held up pretty well too. Like mid-90s, they spent some budget on that.
It still does. I still like it quite a bit. It's probably one of my favorites because it's not desolate like the new one kind of shows. Like it's actually very built up. The rich people are all at the very top, and then once you start going to the slums, it very gradually becomes like a shithole.
Well, I think what you don't like, that's the thing, like Mega City 1 or whatever, you get a good survey of a lot of different things that are going on in it in the first movie because it's just a bigger story, whereas this is like there is a thing going on in this building and it takes place over the course of a day, so you just get a snapshot of what's happening in that future. Like he does lay out a bit of like the surrounding areas, this desolate fallout like wasteland or whatever, but that's all you get. Whereas like,
but still, like even when it's showing him like driving the motorcycle or whatever and chasing them, it's still very brown and kind of gross. It's not like that in the first one. There's lights everywhere.
Like sun-baked LA or something. Like it just has that kind of. I don't know,
Right, but
hot,
when you go with a
sweaty
comic
summer.
movie like depicting the future, I want it to look like a comic book, and that's what the first one did.
Oh, okay. I like some of that grit, but
But you also like the Fallout games for that too.
yeah, I really like the Fallout games. So stuff that reminds me of the Fallout stuff makes me happy, which is why I do one of like my favorite thing in the first movie was Max von Sydow heading out into the wastes with guns because that's what retired judges do, which
Yeah,
I thought was awesome. Like that they touch on like there's this whole procedure like judges then go out to try to tame the wasteland. That was a neat little thing.
yeah,
Whereas here you just get judges on a regular day, like of doing stuff, which is awesome. I love that premise too, though. That this is just another crime. There's 17,000 serious crimes every day.
yeah. And they were just like, let's take that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's just like you could make infinite movies of just like, and this is what Judge Dredd did on Tuesday. There was this crazy smuggling ring.
Which is why it was a comic series, because like
Yeah,
it could
exactly.
last
You
forever.
keep telling stories in perpetuity.
Right.
But yeah, I guess the dude to call out on this movie apparently is Alex Garland, the writer of 28 Days Later.
Okay.
Like he had a major impact on like he wrote it and stuff, but then there's kind of whispers around it like he basically directed this movie. Like at some point Pete Travis, the actual director, kind of was gone for a couple weeks and he stepped in and then he also was handling the editing process. So
Oh,
this is
okay. So a lot
almost,
of the like look is from him.
I guess maybe. Like I also want to like I got to give some credit to whoever the production design people are cuz yeah, I just thought that building looked awesome.
Well,
I guess
everything about it really looked awesome. Even the suit was kind of okay.
yeah, there were some bits where he's just kind of walking through with his tough jacket and his helmet and
I
stuff.
still gotta say, I probably preferred the original suit though.
It's with the big eagle thing on the
It
shoulder.
just looked so much more like triumphant and like the justice bringer sort of thing.
It looks more triumphant, but I read like on the wiki or whatever they describe kind of like the approach with the suit. They want it to just be functional. Like they're like this has to be armor someone could actually wear.
For the new one, for
Is
sure.
what they wanted. That's the tone they were going for. Is more realistic.
Absolutely, and I understand that, but I'm still just of the opinion
There's
that the
no
first
reason.
one is funner to look at.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't have that much affection for the first one in those respects. I just thought it was mid 90s silly looking. And I have to totally respect Carl Urban's decision too to just keep the helmet. Like everyone keeps calling it out like dude, that's really ballsy to kind of be behind a mask the entire movie. But
Right.
like that's some good chin acting, you
But
know.
yeah, the most expressive part in that whole movie, he does fantastic, and it's his
Yeah.
chin and mouth.
Manly chin stuff. It's
I
great.
am the law.
Yeah, and I love that, like, just that image from just film is in my mind of, like, cops with their aviator shades reflecting stuff.
Yeah,
You just
and
kind of
that's
that.
what you totally get too. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just like these masks reflect things in cool ways. So you just get cool shots of, like, fire flickering in it or whatever. Like, it's just like, this is great. Like, you guys have figured out a great look for this movie. And then, yeah, like, it is just brawny, macho hero dude takes care of crime, but it's done with, like, enough respect to that it kind of works in a way that, like, it reminded me of Cobra in a way. Which is
yes, totally.
because, like, it's essentially just, like, super cop busting dudes and then dropping one-liners, like, all over the place.
Yeah,
But they kind of just give it, like, half a teaspoon of just, like, a little more character development and stuff. Like, with the psychic character that's with him, like, that just kind of, it's like, no, she sees more into what he's about. And you're just like, oh, okay, there's more in his, in that tough exterior. Like, there's something in there. That's
right.
all I need. And then like that it takes place over the course of one day makes it all fine because it's just like, well, yeah,
Kind of like Training Day.
yeah, it's just like something tough, like some crazy stuff happened over the course of like one day, and you don't expect a character to have like a huge revelation that changes everything they're about, or like any big major stuff happens. It's just no, it's like a day in the life of this crazy cop.
It's a day. It's his 9 to 5. This is a normal day.
Yeah,
He clocked in thinking that he would probably kill a bunch of people, might die a few times, and then he's gonna go home.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then yeah, they sum up that that kind of attitude towards it really well in the movie. Like there's some good lines in it too. If I have like a couple issues, it's just kind of like a weird thing. Like, it was just like over the course of it, I just kind of noticed, like, man, all these action scenes really boil down to just cop expertly shoots everyone.
Right.
Like, there's no tension ever because you know he's gonna wreck everyone in that room. So he just like breach that door, pop, 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 done. Judge Dredd won, and you're just like, all right. Like, there's no diving over tables and like, oh shit, he's gonna get shot. It's just like, no, they just shot everybody.
They kind of remedied that with the whole like traitor judges.
Yeah. There are some characters later in the movie that are more on his level, but I don't know. Like, other than one or two moments with that stuff, like, there's no like one action set piece I can really point at as being like, that was an amazing action scene. It's more like, this is a great action premise.
Yeah.
And enough cool stuff happens over the course of it. I do need to make one comparison though. This is almost the same premise as the Raid Redemption.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I just have to kind of point like, hey, if you like that, you might like this too, but they kind of are paced a bit differently. Like, this is a slower, tougher character that just like, that movie just goes off into kung fu crazy for like 40 minutes, and that's awesome too. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so I have to ask you.
Reference. But yeah.
The whole time you were watching the movie, did it ever cross your mind that, dude, this would be a great video game?
It totally did.
Okay.
I was just like, man, why has no one done this? Where like you're trapped in a building, like for me, it kind of like reminded me of like Arkham Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
It's like super tough badass dude is locked up in a crazy situation, and he has to step up.
But like, you could still totally die because he's still a dude. He can get shot to death.
But you could just like mechanically do stuff like and over like with the stuff he's doing, like it's like, man, you got different ammo types switching, you got like his visor, you got GPS stuff, and like all these like future things that could just be mechanics.
You have a partner that like some parts you might need her to pass.
Sure, like it's just like as a premise for a game, it would just fit perfectly. Like that was the thing. It was like, man, this look and style and everything applied to a video game, I would actually prefer that to seeing a movie. Like, I want to be in this building right now.
I want to be Dredd.
Kinda,
because
yeah.
they also hide his face enough where you can almost project yourself into that situation in a video game sense.
I was a cop. Yeah. Whereas that did remind me, there actually was a Judge Dredd game on Xbox.
There was. It was bad.
It was bad?
Yeah, it was. It was pretty bad. There was... Wait, Xbox. The one I'm thinking about was PlayStation.
Dredd vs. Death.
Wait, what?
First-person shooter based on Judge Dredd character. I guess it came out in 2003 in Europe, but it came out in 2005 over here.
That wasn't the only one, though, was it?
Maybe not, but...
No, there was another one based on the, like, back when Judge Dredd came out, roughly.
Oh, in the 90s, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is first-person shooter. I'm saying, like...
Okay, the one I'm thinking about was more like Contra, if I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of more thinking about, like, what if this was in a modern game, but apparently they kind of did it wrong. I
wouldn't want it in a first person, though. I would want it third person like Batman.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking that, too, and just different visors or something, I don't know.
So to everybody listening, I'll put it in the show notes. We need to get Rocksteady to make Judge Dredd the game.
Kind of, yeah. Like, they could pull that off, I think, in a satisfactory way. He totally does use, like, thermal vision and stuff, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, man, this is mechanically all the things you need.
And I'm just thinking, like, since he does have a partner in the movie, Anderson, like, you could do co-op if you wanted to.
Right. Like, at the same time, like, yeah, like... Whereas, like, dude, that would be a medium that's perfect for it. I still did really like the movie, and I wish they could do a sequel, but...
Oh, I want it to be out so I can buy it.
Yeah.
Right now.
This was just... I was really satisfied. I was really happy with how that turned out.
And that's another one I will be buying 3D Blu-ray. So when I buy it, you should come over. We'll revisit.
Watch it again. Just be like, dude. Here, I'm just checking on how the box office...
We'll live tweet it.
I was really impressed by, like, the budget. It was like, wow, that was only $45 million? That was a sharp-looking $45 million movie. It's only made 21 so far, though.
Oh.
Which, a couple weeks after release. Like, I guess the things people are pointing to is just, like, it is a hard R, and it's coming off of a movie people didn't really like.
Yeah.
So there's kind of just a public perception of, like, Judge Dredd really? I don't know about that. And you're just like, no, dude, it's actually really good. And you're just like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like, I couldn't even convince a friend of mine to come see it with me because there's just like, dude, I don't really like those comics and that other movie. So I don't know.
That
like,
other movie isn't bad.
All right, I think
It's not great, but it's not bad. People should watch it again before they just remember all the shitty parts.
the things I remember from it though, I think are just parts of the Judge Dredd premise that I like. So I'm not sure if it's really the execution they pulled off in that movie.
Gotcha.
But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's better than I remember. But Armand Asante, right? He's the bad guy. I really didn't like the bad guy.
Yeah, the bad guy's the worst part. He's not in it a whole lot though.
Yeah, but that's kind of the thing they end up building to, right? And you're just like, okay.
Yeah, then like that's okay. So I was working on your Xbox. Mm-hmm. And that's the part where I turned away and started doing important stuff because I didn't care anymore.
Like you had Judge Dredd on.
Well,
you're saying
I was
guy
watching it, and then once he got back to the main area there, the main city, like, and he was facing down his brother or whatever, the bad guy.
Yeah.
That's where I went to my table and just started working again.
So how did that go?
We're not having the problem you were having before. We're having a different one now.
Okay, so troubleshooting.
We're getting there. So I'm gonna take another look at it, take it completely apart again. I cleaned everything on it. So,
like, is it just like the thermal paste was gone for too long and too much damage has been done, or?
Like I'm not sure. Maybe because so. When you take it apart and stuff, you usually see, like, the leftover thermal paste and whatnot on there, right? Mm-hmm. Around the chips, like, in the middle of the chips, it was pure metal. Like, I didn't even have to clean that part out. So, like, it's possible that they probably maybe, like, burned.
Okay.
But the thing is, when I did clean it, like, they were completely shiny and, like, perfect looking. So, I'm going to take it apart again, look at it, clean off the thermal paste again, put some new stuff on there, and we'll try it again. And then if I'm getting the same error, I want to try it. I need your hard drive for it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's on my shelf.
So, like, I want to try booting it up with that attached, just in case, like, it's trying to read something and, like, it can't, so it's failing. Because it's not failing right away. It's taking a while to fail now. Like, because before, like, when you started it up, it would take, like, 3 seconds, and then it would go...
It's like, dude, no, I'm dead. Right? Please don't... Yeah.
This time, it's, like, trying to work, it looks like, and after about 15 seconds, that's when it goes red, but it's not a full ring. It's only 3.
Okay.
And it's
it was 3 before. But...
It's a completely different code, though, too.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
Alright, we'll see.
So, I will try... one last time, and then, I mean, I'm just going to have to say, call it quits if that doesn't work. So
bury it in the backyard, put a little headstone.
We could shoot it.
I guess.
I've done that before.
Or, recycle it or something.
It's kind of fun.
Okay.
You could take out all the copper and recycle that for money.
Ooh.
If there's
a lot of copper in there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's like old computer motherboards and stuff that had the copper, right? I don't think the new stuff does, really.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
All right.
So Judge Dredd.
Right after that, another cool sci-fi movie came out, which you haven't seen yet, I'm guessing.
Right. No.
Which...
That came out the week after.
The week after.
Yep.
I saw it a couple days after, though, because Advance Pass. But, yeah. How much do you want to know? Like,
I don't want to know, because I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I guess I just want to know, like, how they treat the subject. I know what the subject matter is.
Mm-hmm.
How do they kind of...
For sure, all of it? Because the premise kind of surprised me, because I didn't know parts of where it would go. And I was kind of into that. Well,
isn't it a whole thing where, like, they're basically, like, future gangsters? They time travel to do hits?
There's future gangsters that send their dirty laundry back in time to be taken care of in 2044 by Joseph Gordon.
Right.
But then there's this whole thing that happens quite frequently, apparently, where future you gets in some sort of trouble at some point.
Yeah.
And then you are tasked to kill yourself.
Right.
but there's a whole twist as to why Joseph Gordon character's future self, Joe, got sent back. And yeah, all sorts of kind of weird things come out of that.
Well,
And
I mean, of course I wouldn't know that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
There's like a point though, like where it's like I only knew kind of what the movie was going to be for like the first 40 minutes, and then it was like, oh, weird. There's this whole other thing, which they set up really well in the movie. Like they foreshadow all the directions they go, and it totally plays fair. But the trailers and stuff were deliberately kind of obscuring that stuff, which is good job. I thought they kind of ruined a lot of stuff maybe, but they didn't. They hid the importance details that contextualize everything that happens. All I'll say is, like, a lot of people really liked Brick, which is Rian Johnson's like earlier movie from 2006.
I love it. Yep.
I didn't get much out of it beyond kind of like, oh, I see what you did. Yeah, that's cute. You made a modern noir. So
yeah.
Okay. Like I just
with teenagers.
With teenagers, but I guess the thing that like I just kind of just didn't get involved in the actual mystery. I was just like, oh, I get it. It's affecting old mysteries. And then I just didn't really pay attention to the specifics of that mystery because I just didn't find it very interesting.
Gotcha.
So the actual story they told, I could not tell you anything really. It's like there's murder and murder most foul even and stuff like that, but in a high school setting. So yay. But yeah. Okay. This movie has it just pulls from stuff I'm more interested in because, science fiction.
Yeah.
And specifically, it kind of does a riff on a specific movie that, I don't want to say exactly which one, other time travel related film that exists. I did say this on Facebook, though, but whatever, I'll not mention it here. And it kind of asks some cool moral questions and like how people would be impacted by that kind of time travel stuff. And it also just has a ton of style that was really, really slick. And this movie cost $30 million, and it looks great. So, apparently you can just spend better. You can still end up with a great-looking movie. Other than one or two bits with a hover bike, where you can kind of tell they angled it in such a way where they don't really need to have CG effects going on. And
right.
Here, which at least stood out to me as being like, that's probably because it's cheaper to shoot it this way. Whereas someone might not really think about that and be all cynical about it. But yeah, Joseph Gordon's really good. Bruce Willis is fine in that. Like, I find it kind of amusing that he is in another time travel movie where he meets his younger self, because he literally did that in 12 Monkeys. But whatever. Yeah, he does good, tough guy Bruce Willis. Jeff Daniels has probably my favorite line in the movie. And he does some okay stuff as the villain, although he's not really that important. It's really about the two character dynamic, and Emily Blunt's character has some important stuff later on in the movie. But yeah, I don't really want to speak too specifically about the things I liked about it. All I'll say is it's kind of a front runner for one of my favorite movies this year.
Okay.
Like, I really like Prometheus, though. I'm reminded of that.
Yeah.
Not by this movie. I'm just saying of movies this year that really stood out as being like, that was cut above the rest. That was kind of special. Yeah, the more I thought about this movie, the more I kind of was like, no, that movie played fair. The one thing I will say, though, like, initially walking out of it, I was maybe a little bit disappointed just because, like, the trailers kind of made it seem like it was just going to be like a nonstop cat and mouse chase movie or something. It has a hard gear shift into something very different partway through. But it still makes it it validates that stuff and then goes in a pretty smart direction with that. So, Vagueness. Go see it. It's good. It's a good movie.
Nice. I plan to.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know how to transition, but Dale and Tucker versus Evil.
Oh, damn it. Okay.
No, I'm going to go through Dale and Tucker versus Evil first.
It's Tucker and Dale. I don't know why you inverted their names. But
because
okay.
I felt like it.
Okay.
Deal with it.
It's actually a sequel.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Maybe it's Evil versus Dale and Tucker then.
Okay.
That would actually be pretty great.
Alan Tudyk and Taylor Labine.
Yeah, so like how Cabin in the Woods was kind of a satire on horror and the whole genre and all that sort of thing back like in May, I guess it was now.
April is when it first came out, but yeah.
April, May, whatever, same shit.
I know, I'm just saying.
Basically, this kind of does the same thing, more specifically with the whole like scary hillbilly type horror movie thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you're getting it from the perspective of the hillbillies,
Yeah.
and like how everything is just kind of a misunderstanding, and it's kind of great in that respect. I think there's a lot of notes they were trying to hit that didn't resonate very well for me. Like, I know you haven't seen it and you're planning to, so I'm not going to get too specific about anything, but there's a few things that I thought were really well crafted and kind of hilarious, especially in like the context of someone that has grown up and like honed their love of movies through horror movies specifically and then branched out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of little things you recognize from other movies and whatnot that they kind of throw in there as little, like, Easter eggs or whatever. But all around, I don't know, it's pretty good. I guess it's Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk as... I'm trying to remember which is which now in my mind.
It's like Todd and Aaron. No one knows. It's fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Really specific reference, but whatever. Okay.
So, yeah, that's one I suggest people see. I guess it's a couple years old now, so it's maybe on Netflix? I don't think I watched it on Netflix.
I remember the main thing I heard was just, like, it got really weirdly screwed over in terms of distribution. Like, whenever it would play at a festival, people would love it, but then the studio was just like, I don't know if this will play, you know? Like, I don't know if this will really work if we really distributed it. So it was just kind of touring around for, like, 2 years, and then just kind of came out on DVD.
I think if Cabin in the Woods came out before this, there would have been a lot more... they would have taken it a lot differently.
Oh, okay.
Because it has kind of the same feel where they're riffing on... Although Cabin in the Woods wasn't doing it as comedically, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a dark comedy. Like, I'm probably making it sound like it's like slapstick or something. It's not.
Okay.
So
it's like people die horribly, and you go, oh, that's messed up, but also pretty funny.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the people that die do so, like, strangely by their own volition and their own, like, fears and, like, the way they act. Like, there's no actual killer.
These hillbillies are trying to murder us. I'm going to kill them, and then they die.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, there's a like sound clip on the internet I'm sure people have heard where they're like talking to a cop and they're just saying how like all these damn college kids came out here and started killing themselves on my lawn and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like that's basically the basic premise. They go into some weird shit later on that is almost like, I don't know. It's almost like they're talking about racism and society in general with some of the stuff they bring up.
Or like stereotyping the South.
Prejudice more than stereotype, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's weird though, because like there are very definite parallels you could take to racism with the way they talk later on too. So
gotcha.
I'm not going to get too much more into it because I don't want to give any specifics away. But yeah, that's definitely one you should see.
Movies you like, you don't want to be like, man, so that one bit, yeah. And then this other scene, and then you're just like,
how about that scene where Julia Childs was cooking?
That was a good one. I also like the bit where Stanley Tucci was there and kind of just being smiling and supportive. It was nice.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure you and I had talked about this movie a little bit before, maybe not on air, but like
it may have come up. I think it might have come up as just being like the last movie my mom thought was awesome.
Okay.
So yeah, I bought her a copy of it and she thinks it's great.
That movie is half good.
Which half do you like?
The Julia part.
So you don't like Amy Adams?
I can't stand her character.
Oh, okay.
There is nothing endearing or like relatable to her character. Maybe if I was a struggling writer female trying to make it with like my boyfriend who apparently doesn't care about me, but you wouldn't really know because they never get into character development for either of them except for that she's kind of useless.
And he does kind of care about her? Like she was just kind of harsh?
Yeah, like maybe, but they don't give enough context to any of like their issues.
That kind of like dumb dilemma that happens in those kind of movies where it's like, we're going to split up for a bit because this is that point in the movie.
Yeah.
But we got back together. Like, it's just like, I don't care.
Because you get the feeling that there are like marital issues they're facing, but they never really get into that. The only thing they get into with that whole part is that he eats her food and for the most part likes it, and she is cooking. because she has nothing better to do with her life than blog about cooking.
Yeah.
Like-
I don't know much about the actual blogger lady story, but apparently there's some weird stuff with that. I'm not really sure, like about the book rights or something. I don't know. I'm just
Right.
speaking just vaguely. I think she's not super great, but I don't know what that means or in what context.
Right.
Whatever.
So, like, it's hard to tell if maybe she's just not interesting as the real person enough to make, like, a strong character out of in a movie, or maybe it's just that they wrote her wrong or didn't pay enough attention to her because it was just Amy Adams and it wasn't, like, Stanley Tucci and Meryl Streep and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
everything with Julia was great. Like, I would have rather had 2 hours, 2.5 hours, however long it was, of her biopic.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was much more invested in them.
Okay. Like, I did like things with them, but, like, did real Julia Child speak that way? Like, that over the top?
I think she did.
Like, it's just like, the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, Meryl Streep, that's some overacting.
Well, I mean, that's how, like, in her, like, cooking show and stuff like that, she would totally talk kind of like that.
Okay.
So, I'm not sure. I'm not, like, you probably don't know this about me, but I'm not part of the Julia Child's fan club. I'm not even the, like, runner of it or anything.
Oh, you're not like a baby boomer who totally remembers all that stuff?
No. In fact,
I'm
pretty sure she died when I was born. I'm pretty sure we switched, like, dates. Like, when she died, then I was able to be born.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
What are you the reincarnation? What are you saying?
I'm saying...
died in 2004.
So, I am 8 years old.
Oh, okay. Whereas I thought you were 50.
I do a lot of bad things for an 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm saying is next time you're over, we'll cook. I'll cook something for you.
Some lobsters.
You can be my Stanley Tucci.
I really did like Stanley Tucci in that movie, though.
And their relationship in general.
But he just
very
seems
nice.
like a genuinely sweet guy. And, like, it was weird, because that movie came out the same year as Lovely Bones.
Yeah.
Which was another movie with him in it. But it was also, like, film critic Michael Phillips pointed this out as just being like, what are you doing? Because the Academy nominated him for Lovely Bones.
Yeah.
And if you watch it, like, that movie, like, I am kind of an apologist for it. Like, I actually found things about it interesting. But it's not very good. And that performance is very kind of one note. Like, he's a creepy serial killer. Like, he's a creepy killer. And you're just like, okay. Like, there's not a lot to that. Whereas there's just, like, this right here, this is actually, like, a really good example of a supporting performance. Like, it doesn't distract from the main stars. He's just kind of this dependable, like, rock in this story that kind of helps make it all more charming. And you barely notice that he's helping the movie become better, but he is. Like, that's what you should be awarding, not kind of spooky, sinister guy. Which, I don't know. Like, that they chose that movie to nominate him over this well-regarded biopic movie, like, seemed kind of an odd choice.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Anyway, Julie and Julia in stores now. Watch it with your parents. They'll probably dig it.
Yeah. I think so. I guess I'll just quickly say I watched 21 Jump Street a couple weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
Finally. I didn't like it very much.
You didn't like it very much?
No.
It was just too fast-paced and there were too many jokes in it? Or?
Just wasn't funny.
Oh, like the jokes were, like, so funny.
That it wasn't funny. Yeah.
Looped back around.
Right.
And became too obvious? Like, what was it?
Like, maybe. I don't know. I guess I was maybe just expecting more than I got with it.
I really liked it.
There were a few parts that were kind of funny, but a lot of it just seemed like it was missing something for me that I couldn't understand why people found a lot of it funny. I don't know. I just
liked the pace. It reminded me of Scott Pilgrim. Like, it had that same density of material. You know?
Like a lot of stuff happening in only like an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah, like it barely gives you time to breathe before it's moving on. Like, it's just like, then now there's a chase, and then they run over here, and then there's a play, and then there's, these characters run in, and then Johnny Depp. And it's like, what? And it's awesome.
The only thing I can say probably that I liked about it is I thought they had good chemistry together.
Yeah.
So
and I guess that was also
decent.
Me kind of like being like, Channing Tatum, that guy's alright.
Yeah, I guess. Right? He doesn't do a whole lot.
He jumps into that gong.
Yeah, I mean, that was okay.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just don't see the love for it. That's not something I would watch again.
I do kind of want to see it again to see how much of it holds up. Like if it was just like a shock factor and I was just having a good afternoon and I
Oh,
saw it with somebody.
I guess I should say I watched it pretty much alone because the person I was watching it with fell asleep halfway through,
Okay.
and it was late at night on my television. Like I wasn't with uh like theater full of people like with energy bouncing off each other and like laughing laughing's contagious in theaters and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
I thought
didn't have any atmosphere. It was literally me in front of a TV watching it, and I was just like,
maybe that's the wrong way to see it. I don't know.
it might be.
Yeah, I saw it with a good crowd. So okay. Um, I briefly. Oh wait, we'll save that thing. I watched some TV shows. I've seen maybe 5 episodes of American Horror Story, the first season.
I saw half of one episode and I was kind of into it, but like how is it?
It's pretty good. I'm trying to think really what all to compare it to. Like in terms of like cable produced horror show, I just kind of think of Tales from the Crypt for some reason, but
Okay.
it's consciously going for kind of a different thing because it's like the same family living in this house that has all these problems. But there's kind of weirdly they're still doing dilemma of the week at the very least or murder of the week kind of thing.
Right.
Because like actually it's not a bad setup for a show. This mansion has a history of like just bad things happening in it. So a lot of times an episode will open with like a new flashback into what happened. Like this is the gnarly thing that happened in this house in the 20s. And then there's this like abortion doctor and all this weird stuff happened. Like their kid got kidnapped and all this stuff. And then the next episode will be about the gay couple that had the house in the 80s. And then Zachary Quinto's there. I don't even know if it's the 80s. Maybe it was more contemporary than that, like the late 90s or something. But whatever. Like there'll be kind of like a thing of the week structure to it, despite it having the same characters kind of going through the things. But at some point, that does make it kind of weirdly absurd that the characters aren't just leaving or like reacting to how eventful their lives have become since they moved to this house. Like it's just like it's been 5 weeks. There's been 5 horrible things that have happened, including murders and things in your house. Why would you stay here? Like it's kind of becoming a little crazy, but apparently partway through the season it kind of slows down a bit, which I'm actually looking forward to at this point because it's maybe been too eventful of a show. There's been too much action happening for it to kind of stick together. But I don't know. It's like well acted and well shot and cable produced and everything. It looks pretty nice. Jessica Lange is crazy old lady. Well, older neighbor, kind of like the character from Sunset Boulevard, like the actress who like her career faded early or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan McDermott's angry and really angry.
Okay.
The dude from Kick-Ass, like the best friend, is like this spooky boyfriend guy. I don't know. It has things in it that are like, oh yeah, like a regular dose of horror stuff in little bits. It's okay. It's entertaining. I don't know. Apparently, the next season, like I guess their plan for the show is to make it kind of different each time, like a different characters and different like central dilemma, but it takes place within the same world.
Right.
So I'm like curious how they'll build or play off of things that are happening here. If it'll feel pretty separate, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It's all right. It's all
Cool.
right.
Is it like? Do you think it would be something I would be into?
Do you like horror movies and things?
I do.
Would you want to watch a giant horror movie that's like 12 hours long?
I mean, I could do an episode every day until Halloween.
Okay.
So like that could be my October thing. I was thinking of doing that with old horror movies because I have that like 50 pack.
Right.
But I'm already 2 days in and I haven't watched one yet, so this might be something to kind of.
I've been kind of spreading them out a bit. Like me and Brittany have been watching 1 or 2 every week or something.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of give it some time to breathe. Maybe I don't know what the best way to Like, if you really binged on it, would it hold up as a show, or would it be like, I get it, spooky.
So it's
whoa.
more episodic then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I mean, enough happens per week for you to kind of get your fill of that manner of stuff.
But it's not like a Game of Thrones where like you could watch all of it in one night and it would just be like a 6-hour movie or something.
I don't know if I feel that way about Game of Thrones, but...
Well, what I mean is like there's a continuity with that.
Right, so Mad Men. No, I don't know.
Sure.
Like, yeah, there are shows where it's just like, dude, give me the next one right now. This isn't necessarily like, oh, what dilemma are they going to get into? They don't do cliffhangery stuff sometimes. They did the last one I watched. It was like on Halloween night, so I guess they kind of had a two-parter. But typically it's like dilemmas will be more or less wrapped up by the end of it. It's like, that was the bad thing that happened to this family this week. Moving on. So, it's pretty good so far. I'm interested where it ends up. I don't have a verdict yet on whether this season's good overall, but I admire things it's doing.
Okay.
I also watched some more regular show, which is the Adventures of Mordecai and Rigby, who are two, like a blue jay and a raccoon that work at a park.
Okay.
I've brought it up before. Yes. I guess just the brief thing to kind of just like, something's different between seasons 1 and 2, and I'm just having a hard time pinning down what it is, but it's not, it doesn't have quite the same snap it did, maybe? I don't know what's going on. Like, it's like a little too serious, maybe? I don't know. Have I expressed this already?
No, you haven't.
Like, if not, like, or if I have, like, that continues. Like, season 2 consistently just is like, man, Benson just needs to settle down. Like, why is he so angry at them? And, like, they're just kind of, like, getting kind of bummed out more. They're not just, like, having fun times all the time. Which, yeah, I think, like, I guess, yeah, like, this is coming like, together in a pretty specific way, because they also do kind of, there is an episode where they literally meet future versions of themselves who are in a band. But it reminds me of Bill and Ted. Like, at its best, it reminds me of that kind of attitude of just, like, crazy stuff's happening and fun times. You know? I don't know how you feel about those movies.
They're okay.
Yeah, but, like, when it's doing it right, it reminds me of that level of nuttiness, and I really enjoy that.
Okay.
But this season so far, like, there's been one or two that are like, yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like, essentially, like, basically Billy Mitchell shows up, like, that kind of character shows up, and his whole life is depending on this arcade game, and that was pretty funny. So they get it every now and then, but overall, as like 12 episodes into this season, it's not quite as awesome as it was before. But whatever, I'll keep watching it. It's like 12 minutes per episode.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Music time.
I watched Louie season 3.
Oh, okay.
Have you watched that?
I watched the first episode and thought it was pretty good, and then just fell off because of time. But
okay, that season is weird.
Okay, does it get more plot focused at some point?
Yeah, it gets really introspective.
Like about him and being a comedian, or
kind of like there's like. Do you mind if I just say a few vague things?
Yeah, it's fine. Like, I kind of view the whole show as kind of like weirdly introspective inherently. Like, it's like,
well, the whole show is basically just like if someone took a camera and like followed him around.
Yeah, like it has that kind of, but also just kind of like, yeah, like just ideas that just come to him, he'll just share with you. Like, you're kind of just hanging out with Louie every week. So right. What happens?
But it's gotten a lot less funny.
There were some episodes though, like the bullying episode in season 1.
Yes.
That one stood out to me as being like, I don't know if everyone who I recommend the show to will dig that episode, but I thought that was really interesting. But if he does that too many times, maybe it would become a different show.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, do they go more kind of like darker subjects?
There's one episode focused around a problem he's having with his father.
Okay.
And, like, they never tell you what the issue is. They just haven't spoken in years, and he's getting stressed out about it. Mm-hmm. And, like, the whole episode is building up to him confronting and talking to his father, like, back in Boston. And then, like, instead of doing that, he runs away from it. And, like, the way he runs away, is kind of weird. He just kind of like steals someone's scooter type thing and then like drives to like the ocean, steals a boat or something, and like just rides the boat out into the middle of the ocean, and that's where it ends.
Oh, like it's meant to be kind of like absurdist.
Like maybe, but I'm starting
They would
to
do jokes like that.
but like
in
that's
the first
not
one. It's like that lady that runs away from the date literally jumps into a helicopter, flies away. Like it's meant to be kind of like that would never happen, but
right, but it's also
imagine.
the way they do it isn't funny, really.
Okay.
It's just kind of like he's really like disturbed by this whole time.
Oh, okay.
And it has this weird serious tone, but it made me start thinking that like maybe that what they're doing in this show isn't so like it's stuff that he's facing in his daily life, say like in the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like they're how he perceives them, so this isn't actually all happening, it's just the intensity of the situation, that's what he's feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to think that this show is focused more around his personal like feelings towards everything more so than an actual narrative.
Yeah.
Which is
like
kind of weird. And wait, okay, so after that, there's another like little story arc in here that's about 3 episodes long where he's he might be hosting the Tonight Show.
Yeah, that's the stuff I heard about. Like, is that like a multi-part arc?
It's 3 parts.
Yeah, that sounded crazy to me because he hasn't really done that in the previous seasons.
So like the first episode is straight up just like him finding out about it and dealing with like the idea of it and like what it would mean for him. The second part is him getting ready for it, and the third part is him doing it. And it kind of ends off on a weird note where like it's kind of depressing in a way how it ends, but at the same time he is really happy with himself, and that's weird to see in that show. He's actually proud of himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I mean, everybody that knows Louis C.K., he doesn't do that. And like he has a very triumphant failure at the end, and it's just kind of nice to see, but at the same time you're just thinking like, oh, this has gone from like a show to almost like a weird movie now.
Okay.
So it's kind of okay. And then of course they still do the normal like everyone he meets is kind of weird and crazy, and all the women that are in his life are like totally out there, and they bring back some things like that one parent of a kid that goes to his daughter's
like
school.
that single mom, Pamela Adlon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they revisit some of that stuff and whatnot, but yeah, I suggest you look into it. It's easy to finish in one night.
Right, yeah,
So.
they're pretty short. I don't know what I still like. I loved season 1 a lot. Like I watched it 2 or 3 times. I think it was weird, but 2 had moments for me, but I didn't get into it as much, and I haven't picked it up yet. Even I'm not sure what happened, but just some of the stuff he was doing just wasn't as interesting to me. I'm curious how I'll feel about season 3.
Yeah,
But,
I would like to hear your thoughts about some of this stuff. So
okay.
we can probably
he picked up some Emmys, so
we can revisit this conversation once you
yeah,
watch
I
that stuff.
seen the other half of it, but okay. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to just go into. We each apparently listen to an album, so we can do that kind of thematic, consistent thing.
Yes.
So Muse, they were kind of this super obscure band that eventually took off when Guitar Hero featured Knights of Sidonia or something. Isn't that what happened?
No, they took off because their songs were featured in Twilight.
Oh, in Twilight, okay.
And they started getting a lot of radio play from their album Black Holes and Revelations. Like that song Twilight and Super... oh my god, is it actually called Twilight?
Okay.
Weird. Starlight. Sorry.
Starlight.
Okay. That song Starlight, and
I figured they were on the Twilight soundtrack, and I was like, yeah, that would do it.
Yeah. No, the songs
like
Starlight and Supermassive Black Hole were very radio friendly, and Supermassive Black Hole was used in some advertisements and stuff like that, so they started getting quite popular. They've been around since like the early 90s, though, and mostly in obscure...
I know, I'm being facetious. They're a pretty big deal.
Well, they've been kind of obscure because they're UK-based, and I mean...
Yeah,
we're Canadian, so we get all the US stuff instead of the motherland stuff, mostly.
Oh, like on our radios?
Yeah.
I guess. I don't really go to the radio for my music. But
anymore.
Not anymore.
There was a time. And the early 90s would have been that time. Just saying.
Okay. I gotcha. I gotcha.
Anyways, so they released a new album. It was out last Friday in Germany and some other European countries. It was out yesterday in the UK and like Scotland and the more major, well-known European countries for us. And
Okay.
as of today, it's out here in North America and all that sort of stuff. The album's called The Second Law, and it's one that started worrying me because the stuff they were releasing had a lot of dubsteppy type sounds in it, and like to me, even with Black Holes and Revelations and like the power ballad stuff they started getting into and like the rock opera stuff they started getting playing in with and whatnot, I was always more of a fan of the classic rock type Muse stuff. Like,
Okay.
pretty much for anybody that's in the know, I guess that would be the first half of Absolution's one of my favorite albums. My favorite full album would be Origin of Symmetry. So the whole like electronic dubsteppy thing, and then the whole like Queen sound they kind of had with that Survival song that was for the Olympics, and everything was kind of worrying me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like this album quite a bit, though. I like it for the
Okay.
same reason I like Muse, in that like, or not Muse, Ween, in that every Ween song on an album they're trying something different, and that's kind of what they're doing with this. Even though when they do something different, it sounds like Radiohead, because Muse and Radiohead are basically like the same thing sound wise sometimes.
Okay.
Um, I don't want to get too specific about it. I think it's something people that are fans of Muse should be listening to. They should try it out. There's some really standout great tracks on there, and even the dubstep one kind of fit in where they put it. It's kind of like the ending note of the album, and it's just kind of weird because the whole issue I had, like the whole surprise I had with that song is kind of down now that I know what it sounds like, because the whole reactionary first impression sound I got like months back, and I've gotten used to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of okay with me now, even though I would still prefer it not exist on there. But yeah, on Pixel Response, I actually did a track by track first impressions with a leaked copy last week. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody interested in more detail about each song should probably just check on there and see what I had to say about some of those. But yeah, it's a solid album. I'll probably be buying it, actually.
Okay. Uh, I have less to say about the album I picked up because it's very unremarkable. Man, I only listened to it one time, so it's kind of just my first impression. But like, album title goes here, haha. See, it's all snarky and sarcastic.
Yeah.
That's the new Dead Mouse album. Uh, yeah, it's just really boring. Like, nothing happens on it ever. Like,
So it sounds like Dead Mouse.
like, I read a review by Alexis Petridis, who he writes for The Guardian, and he does a pretty good music podcast I used to listen to. He just kind of dissected Dead Mouse, and it's just like, I think he hates dance music. Seemed to be kind of his thing. Like, it's just like, he seems to have no joy in anything he does, and it kind of comes through. And yeah, it's just like, this is the most flat, boring thing I've listened to in a while, and it's just like, this isn't hard. You do the build-ups and then you drop those beats. This is easy. But maybe he's just like, yeah, I know, I'm tired of it now, but he's big now, so he has to keep doing it or something. I don't know, but yeah, like, I, I I'm trying to think kind of how he summed it up, but he was comparing it. It's like looking back at like the late '90s, like the big electronic acts that happened then, like the Chemical Brothers and Daft Punk and stuff, and Prodigy. They all kind of had their own unique thing. Deadmau5 doesn't have that at all, like, other than his kind of persona, like the presentation of it, which is
Yeah.
my favorite thing. Like, my favorite thing about Deadmau5 is there's a big mouse head on the stage,
Yeah.
and it's a goofy spectacle to see.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, the actual songs, like 90% of them are kind of super generic, and these are all that way. Like, usually there'd be a song or two per album that was like, you know what, this is all right. This one's okay. This is actually kind of fun on its own, so I'm just gonna put that in a playlist or something. Like, first run on this one, like, no song did that ever. It was just like, these are all really boring. And for guest spot stuff, like a bunch of other major DJs are at least kind of grabbing big people. Cypress Hill's on it.
Weird.
And did they ever matter? Like, I only knew them because they were on The Simpsons like one time. What is
Okay.
Cypress Hill's like claim to fame in music?
They're a more laid-back rap group that rap about weed.
They rap about weed. Okay.
Well, not like specifically about weed, but they have a lot of. They're a stoner favorite. I mean, back in my less scrupulous days, I might have listened to some Cypress Hill while getting pretty stoned. So, anyway, yeah.
That's fine. I don't know. It was just like weird to hear that. It's just like there are other rappers that are doing things right now. Like you could probably phone them up or something. Like I don't.
Like T.I.
I don't know anybody. Like just somebody with some with a name that matters. Like I was just kind of like, this is a weird. This isn't a get at all. This is kind of slumming it a bit.
Eminem.
Like you're at a point now where you could probably phone Eminem.
I don't think he's not that big.
All right.
I think
I've seen hoodies and stuff around. Maybe because I'm in Canada or something. But,
I mean, like maybe, but I think
like at least Childish Gambino.
I think his producer or whatever, his agent could probably call Eminem's agent and they could like chat over email.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be okay. I don't think he could just call him up and be like, yo, M, got this dance track, want you to rap on it.
Okay. Maybe that's aiming a bit high at this point, but I'm trying to think who would.
Gambino for sure.
For sure.
I think Gambino would pay to be on Deadmau5's album.
For sure. You're right. That swings the other way. Now I'm trying to think, like, is it like, who's on
an even keel there?
Like, yo, Frank Ocean's hot right now. I don't know. Get Tyler. Somebody. I don't know. I was just, like, bummed out. And yeah, okay. I guess just frame of reference, this is, like, me, a janitor, setting up tables and cleaning bathrooms. Like, I just, at some point, forgot I was listening to an album and was focusing more on that.
Oh,
like, it was so boring. It was just, like, these tables are more interesting than anything I'm hearing right now. It was just, like...
Wow.
Not a good sign. Yeah, dude, step it up, yo. Or take a break or something. I don't know. Blah.
Yeah.
Blah. So, yeah. Mediocre times. Great album cover, though. It's got a cat on it. It's like Meowingtons. Anyway, double feature of cult movies. This is the last thing I did. This was yesterday.
And you get some crazy alliteration with both of these.
Yeah. Well, if I ran them together. I saw P.T. Anderson's new movie.
Yes.
The Master.
Yes, yesterday, in fact.
I watched that yesterday. Okay. I'm trying to kind of just contextualize or whatever. How do you feel about P.T. Anderson, I guess, as a starting point? Okay.
I'm trying to think of the last movie I saw that he did. So.
Did you see Blood? Did you see There Will Be Blood?
Yeah, was that the last one?
That was the last one. That was 5 years ago. It was the last time he did
5 years ago? Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
I guess he really hasn't done many.
And then, like, what before that? Probably Magnolia?
No, before that was Punch Drunk. And
I never saw Punch Drunk, though.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, dude hasn't done many movies, but he's gotten to a point with me where I'm kind of just like, this guy's good at his job. I'm inherently interested in anything he does at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go in kind of with this enthusiasm, you know? It's kind of like, I like this guy. I like what he's putting down. I'm gonna check this out. So I'm kind of inherently a fan, so I'm a little biased or whatever. That said, though, like this is not as good as some of his other films. Like immediately, I was just not as excited about things that happen in it.
Okay.
As I was to some others, but if you're gonna rank them or whatever, like it's probably a notch above his first movie, Hard Eight, which I mean, it's his first movie, so it's not as sharp yet or whatever, so that's fine. But it's significantly below Boogie Nights and Magnolia for me, which are my favorites, and probably just a hair below There Will Be Blood, which I didn't love, but I still found.
But you could still like respect.
Yeah, like there's still a lot of good stuff going on, and there's still a lot of good stuff going on in this movie too, like Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman, Amy Adams and such. Specifically, Philip Seymour and Joaquin Phoenix kind of have big performances in this movie that are kind of, the star of the show. I'm gonna say Joaquin though, like he really throws himself at the role physically. Like he'll
Okay.
just kind of just go nuts sometimes. Like okay, set up for the movie. Um, Joaquin Phoenix is a sexually repressed dude who just got out of World War II, like from the Navy. Like the war just ended. He kind of just can't hold a job because he's just kind of cantankerous and he drinks a lot. And he's just kind of wandering around America, getting in trouble and stuff. Ends up just wandering onto a yacht or like a boat rather in a drunken haze. And ends up kind of with this circle of people that are forming this new kind of religious movement, headed up by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Now the movie is pretty much like an allegory or whatever, like a pretty direct comparison to the beginning of Scientology with L. Ron Hubbard.
Yep.
Like the character he plays is called Lancaster Dodd, but there's a lot of parallels that you can draw or whatever with the philosophies and things they're putting down.
Tax evasion.
Yeah, well, I like in the movie at some point he does get in trouble for essentially having a grant that he was not actually entitled to have or something like that. I
So
think
there's a financial
there's
parallel
financial
somehow there too.
questionable stuff practices with their bookkeeping.
Okay.
Like there's some of that.
Okay, cool.
But they do kind of dance around, kind of really like lambasting that stuff, which is nice. Like, that's easy stuff to make. Like, man, these cults be crazy. Like, it kind of. I found it interesting in that it kind of showcases what makes something like that interesting and compelling
Right.
in a way, like for the people that would get into it. Like, it's like kind of reminding me of stuff like when the Jim Jones. I had a big thing with Jonestown, this documentary from last year. I was kind of looking into cults and things for a bit.
Yeah,
Reminded
that.
me of some of the same ruminations I had during that time
Okay.
of just kind of like, it's obviously not inherently ridiculous, or else people wouldn't even get pulled in. Like there has to be something that's resonating with people, and it's like, yeah, in this case, it's kind of this pseudo psychological introspection stuff that they do. Like they're kind of taking you through all your memories, and you kind of have to own your fears and own your memories until they don't bother you anymore. So it's like desensitizing you to things about yourself that you don't like
Right.
or whatever. And it's like that's interesting. That's a thing you could do, just kind of like this immersive psychoanalysis type stuff. But then they take it to this extreme where it's like you can actually remember previous lives going back trillions of years because there's these alien entities within you, and it's like, oh, okay, wait a minute, like that's where it kind of starts going into the territory we now kind of joke about in relation to Scientology or whatever. But it is still kind of cool seeing like the character dynamic or whatever happen. Like I guess the main thing is Joaquin Phoenix is a dumb simpleton. Like he's just a brute kind of guy. Like he'll just punch people. He just is drinking. He's kind of just really lives just really carnally kind of thing. Like he's a very primal kind of dude, just an angry dude. And he at some point kind of just sees through the kind of fake thing that Philip Seymour Hoffman's building up, like Lancaster's building up around this cult or whatever. And I guess it's trying to kind of say like I guess yeah, it's hard to kind of say what this movie is getting at. It just seems kind of like vague thoughts about cults and what makes them compelling but also silly, and what makes, someone get into it but also like anyone could see through it if they really wanted to, and he does at some point and leaves. But I guess the criticism that's been coming up, like I had a conversation with my friend Ryan after the movie, like it doesn't seem to have a clear just like opinion on this whole thing. It's just kind of vague thoughts about it. Like
Okay.
it's a series of Paul Thomas Anderson's thoughts on what makes a cult and what that would be like to see start up, and that's it. Like there's no real like conclusions to take away from it other than perhaps like, yeah, maybe it's not a good idea, but it doesn't really take a hard stance on it. It's like, but it makes sense. And then she's kind of like, all right. Like, they do kind of have a nice arc with Joaquin Phoenix's character in terms of like sexual repression being a thing throughout his life, like throughout the movie anyway. Like it's weird. Like he's just like I don't want to necessarily spoil specific scenes, but it's just like really like dude is horny a lot, and they do that. They convey that in kind of some amusing ways. Like he'll take a joke really far, like with his army buddies to the point where it's like, this is not funny anymore. It's just kind of awkward.
This got creepy.
Yeah, it's a little like
Yeah.
like there's some kind of awkward moments of ice in the air and stuff, or like they'll kind of do a subjective from his point of view at like a party where they're like suddenly all the women are naked at the party, but it's only from his point of view. It's not actually happening.
All right.
Like, oh, this is weird. Like this is also kind of neat to see. Like, wow, those actresses are committed because like everyone or actors too. Like everyone's just committed to like pretending it's just a normal dancing around party, but like half the cast is naked. It's just I don't know. There's some creative shots and some cool ideas for scenes and stuff. But yeah, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes of kind of just thoughts, like just kind of like little wisps of ideas and thoughts kind of strung together into this thing. And it doesn't necessarily make for the most engaging movie at the end of it all, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, unless you're kind of like, I don't know, really want to see Joaquin Phoenix kind of have a kind of meaty role to go into again, like, which I do like that dude. If one thing, like, maybe one aspect of his performance, he does kind of this weird nervous laugh a lot, which I'm not sure if that's just what they wanted. Like, he's kind of just this really clueless guy who just chuckles a lot or something, but it just, I don't know. It seemed kind of weirdly affected or something at some point, if I'm going to critique any element of that. But he does really throw himself at some scenes where he just kind of has these weird meltdown type moments, like, kind of remind me of, like, specifically there's a scene that reminded me of, like, De Niro in Raging Bull punching that wall.
Yeah.
In the prison or whatever. Like, it's that kind of just, like, method, just really, like, Joaquin Phoenix probably hurt himself a bit doing some of the stuff he does in this movie, but it's you know, it's impressive. Philip Seymour, like, at some point, that dude is just at a level where you just expect something from him every time, and he does that thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he just has this kind of commanding, charismatic tone that he'll employ, and just kind of, but then also has this lighter side and whatever. And like his character does have some good moments that I just found kind of like that's just a weird thing for a person to say. All right, that was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. It's a P.T. Anderson movie. If you like P.T. Anderson, there are things to appreciate here. If you want to see a movie about the origins of a Scientology-esque cult, there's thoughts for you here, but like it like I was thinking as I was seeing it, it's like this is not like a strong Oscar contender really because it's just such a weird thing. Like I don't think anyone would really point at this movie as being like, yeah, that movie had something to say and that was really compelling and dramatic. It was just like that was a well executed collection of thoughts. You know, like it's well shot, it's well acted, but what is it for? I don't know. It's just kind of. But he's at a level where he can just kind of do that. But yeah, I'm sorry if I'm boring you. I'm just kind of still thinking through it.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, like not one of my favorites. I'll probably revisit some of his other films. Just kind of, I don't know. I'm just in that mood, I guess now. I've been meaning to revisit Punch Drunk for a bit. So yeah. But yeah, I actually got home from that and then decided to just keep the cult theme going and watched Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene.
Right.
Or is it Marlene, Marcy, May, No, whatever.
It's Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene.
Okay. This Elizabeth Olsen leaves a very Charles Manson-like cult.
The lesser-known Olsen.
Yeah, the youngest one, I guess. Yeah, she runs away from this cult at the beginning of the movie, and then it's her kind of like I will be honest, like I was kind of half paying attention to the movie at some points because it was late and I was getting really distracted by all these other thoughts that were coming, so I was like writing in a Google Doc and stuff sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd pause it, but then it kind of splintered up the time of it, so I kind of lost track of some things that happened. But generally, I had a overall good impression of it. Like it was kind of she leaves this cult and then like runs to her sister and boyfriend to kind of like just escape from this thing. And like everything she's learned from the years she spent there kind of clash really hard with regular society or whatever. To the point where, but like at the same time, I think the movie's trying to kind of point out like, there's like it was a similar thing to The Master. Like there's something to the cult, but it's been perverted or twisted to the point where it's no longer, you can't fully support it because they do some despicable things. But there's a certain community and a certain like attention they'll pay to the individual that is something that people need to probably take into consideration as being something you should probably do, because like she runs to her sister and boyfriend, but they're actually really judgmental of everything she does and they don't really help her. Like they accepted her into their house, but then they're constantly kind of criticizing her for everything she does. They don't really like dig into what happened or help her in any way, and then at the end of the movie you're kind of like it ends on an overtly ominous note as to whether or not like the cult will catch up to them or whatever again or something, but they don't let you kind of just be like, oh well, she's safe, she's fine. It's like, is this actually better in all the ways it should be? Like this family could probably step up and help out more than they are, and it's kind of like, I don't know, I think it's supposed to be like this isn't as black and white as you'd think, like it's not like cult is evil, home life is fine. It's like, well, there are things to each side that are worth like good, but like no one quite has it, and it kind of just puts the character in a really awkward position. And yeah, just kind of like the whole thing about normalizing really extreme behaviors gradually, and like you can kind of convince anybody to do anything at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Was kind of the thing, more so in Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. Like there's some thug stuff that happens with like Freddy, like Joaquin Phoenix's character in The Master, kind of punching out some dudes and stuff that he probably shouldn't be doing, but they go much more extreme. Like very like there was a point in that movie where it was like, oh, Charles Manson and his crew is the inspiration for this. John Hawkes is kind of the ringleader of the cult, and yeah, like he just, like on the surface, like times you'll meet him, he just seems like a nice guy, but then like it's like his perspective on like the rest of humanity and what they're worth and whatever is just so skewed at this point because they've been isolated for long enough to the point where it's just like, that's not how, don't do that. Like it gets kind of dark at one point. Like there's some really good scenes in it. It's a really mellow movie though. It was like, that's probably why I was kind of like not super attentive to it, because I was kind of tired and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, it's just like a really kind of laid back, like it's not like just kind of like flashbacks to cult stuff and then like back and forth between these two narratives that are kind of interwoven, and just kind of like no real super dramatic stuff happens in either until like one or two moments. I don't know, it was still interesting though overall, and like I guess yeah, like Elizabeth Olsen's performance was fine. John Hawkes was good, so yeah, there's qualities in that movie as well, but it wasn't, I don't know, like I was thinking about the absurdity of labeling a movie and giving it a number, because it's kind of like just a weird, like, what does that even mean? But I'd probably give both of them a 7, if that helps people. Like in terms of what I got out of them. Like it may have been muted some too by the fact that I've gone through this weird kind of really thinking about cults thing like a year ago. So if this is all new to you, like these are some good thought exercises too in that regard. But I already did that, kind of. So it might be like, oh, this is fresh. I've never really thought about this. Like, that might happen with these movies as well. Just, I recommend that Jonestown documentary as well. It's really dark, though. So I've been monologuing for a while. It's just, those just happened yesterday. You cool? Like, any questions, or?
No, it seems pretty good to me.
Okay. Cult movie.
So that's 2 weeks worth of media we just went through for both of us.
Thanks for
thanks for sitting through all of that. But I mean, I think we said some pretty good stuff about what we did.
Okay.
Caught everybody up on the lives of Pixel Response people, Paul and Nathan.
Yep.
I had to go with the alliteration with my name in there, so that's why my name came first.
Okay, fair enough.
But we're going to take a little break here, mainly because I have to go get a drink and use the washroom.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, people listening to this, it'll be like 2 seconds, so don't worry about it. When we come back, we'll discuss a little bit of news, probably have an argument about Resident Evil, and then we got a fistful of questions to go through.
Okay.
Okay, so break. And we're back.
Hey.
Hey, so Resident Evil 6 came out today that we're recording.
That's why people are talking about it more. I gotcha.
Yeah. So what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on this? You actually saw it. We have a first impression on you on it on Pixel Response, and it's been getting quite a few hits of people looking up Resident Evil 6, obviously.
Oh, like you played a demo, or you played it?
Your E3 stuff?
Oh, my E3, yeah.
So
I
it's
forget what all...
been getting some hits. So what are your opinions on it?
Back then, I was not impressed. As far as I can recall, I thought the Leon campaign just seemed way too linear for it to have any impact at all.
Okay.
Like, it was like, oh, it's trying to be scary because there's shadows, but it's holding your hand so thoroughly that nothing jumps out at you as being scary. Like, it's just like, well, I'm walking down this hallway, obviously something's gonna happen. Oh, look at that, a broom fell over. And then weird shadows and sounds. It's just like, okay. Like, yeah, that stood out as just being kind of like trying for atmosphere and failing. The Chris section seemed really chaotic, but in a way that could be fun, I think I recall saying. And then the Jake section just kind of broke for me, but it was like you're being chased by Nemesis, essentially. Like,
Okay.
it seemed to kind of be trying to cater to everyone at once. Like, it's like everyone who wants anything from Resident Evil, we're going to try to kind of address all those concerns, but with kind of splintering it up into this uncohesive thing. And I wasn't really enjoying it, but I also didn't like 5. So I've kind of been on the, man, what happened to Resident Evil for like 3 years now?
No,
So,
Resident Evil hasn't been Resident Evil since Resident Evil 3.
okay, but 4 was one of the best games.
But it
so
wasn't Resident Evil, so it automatically fails the Resident Evil test.
I don't know, because I don't want shitty tank-like controls ever again in anything. So,
Or the best controls, but yeah, that's fine. If you don't want good controls, go play Gears of War or something.
Okay, it's not so much the controls, it's the camera.
Okay, like the static camera?
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. Like, that's just bad.
Right.
Well, I don't know, or I don't know. It is a thing that they do, and I guess I do have fond memories of Resident Evil 1 and 2. So I guess it's a thing that works because it kind of amps up the tension in its own way.
Well, here's the thing that it's always been for me.
Yeah,
Since Resident Evil, I grew up. It was really my first experience into the world of horror for video games, like in a way that kind of frightened me. Because like there was still stuff back in the day. There was like, I'm trying to remember the full name of it, but the first Clock Tower.
Yeah.
Was it Clock Tower? Yeah, on the SNES.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just stuff like that where it was like a side-scrolling thing. You'd enter a room and you'd have to like click somewhere to hide and all that sort of thing. Then they came out with the Clock Tower on the PS3 or PSX, I should say, rather, and so on. But excuse me. The thing for me is that I grew up with Resident Evil kind of shaping how I see 3D horror in video games. So for me, Resident Evil hasn't been the same when 4 came out and then onwards.
You know what? Yeah, like I got a little defensive there because I did have a good time with that game, but it is clearly a very different game.
So
like
the type
of tension it's going for is 100% different. It's like
yeah,
enemies are overwhelming you, and that's stressful. It's not the same as I have no bullets. I don't want to fight something right now. Oh shit, there's a crimson head,
and I don't know what's around this corner until I get there, and then it might be too late.
Yeah, like it was still atmospheric, but in a way that wasn't as suffocating, maybe. I don't know. And it didn't require you to really as thoroughly explore one environment. It keeps moving from set piece to set piece.
Yeah.
In a way that would kind of become the model for third-person action games. But yeah, fair enough. You're right. It's striving for very different goals.
So in that respect, since Resident Evil 4, which I loved, I have to say though, because like I just did,
in a different way.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. I've been taking the Resident Evil games per game as completely different things, so I'm not expecting the same thing anymore, which is why I still got enjoyment out of 5. Like, even though it is like by all accounts probably the worst Resident Evil next to Gaiden on the Game Boy Color.
But like I couldn't switch modes. It was just like with 4, it's just like, wow, this is like a roller coaster action thing. I want that again. And then 5 was like, this is a co-op game. Do you have a co-op partner with you? And I don't know. That's just not what I wanted at all. It was just not what I wanted.
Well, I mean, and that was the problem that Phase 5 is that the mechanics kind of worked against it. Like, if it was a drop in and out co-op, that'd be fine, but the fact that the AI would take over if there wasn't a player there and they would just get in your way and do stupid shit, like die, and then you would fail, like, that was terrible. Everything else in it was okay. I mean, from what I grew up with, it still wasn't Resident Evil, but it was enough Resident Evil that I got my fill from it. That's why 6, I will probably like. Like, I'm just saying right out that I am biased, and I will probably like it, so don't listen if I tell you it's great, I guess.
But like, okay, here's just the thing. Like, I've been kind of gleefully enjoying how much negativity is coming out towards this game, because I've basically been saying that for a few months, that it looks really sketchy and it's probably not going to be very good. Yeah, it seems like the things people are saying is it's very poor just as a game. Like, just as a third-person action shooter, it is behind the times, and also just keeps relying on QuickTime events in a way that's no longer fun at all. Like, it's just like, press R to stomp on it. Shake the stick. No, shake the stick. Press A. Shake the stick. And it's just like, this is not intuitive. This is just weird. Like, it's just pushing you out all the time. Like, you can't get immersed in anything that's happening because there's all these menus and button prompts and everything. Like, it's telling you how to play it. It's just, I don't know. Like, apparently they've been consciously looking at Western shooters as like a model for this, and they just don't know how to do that.
Right.
So, and I also just don't want them to aspire to do that, because I'm tired of that too.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot I played it, but I played a little bit of like a Space Marine.
Yeah.
And like, it's just things I liked about it. Like, there was some stuff I thought was kind of cool. Like, the character specifically was just really cool, like cold, and just like really serious about war or whatever. And it was, in a way, like, I don't have much experience with the 40K universe, so this was my first kind of looking at that. And then just like big giant dudes in heavy armor that are like regarded as like just amazing. Like, just like, holy shit, it's the Space Marines. You know, like, there's this reverence from everybody.
Space Marine.
Yeah, but you walk into like into a sick bay at some point, and there's a dude on his deathbed, and he's like, wow, at least I got to see a Space Marine, or something like that. Like, it was just like, how much you mean to these dudes is kind of just weird. And
well,
I felt
it was like
oh,
a religion for them, right?
Yeah, like war is their way of life or whatever.
They are like the highest order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are like demigods kind of descending into this place and fighting alongside these dudes. It was just like, I got that sense, but then when it got right down to it, like the combat, it was just like, man, I just really don't want to play a game like this. Like, at all. I don't want to shoot the dudes. I don't want to, like, man, this is like, and it's so brown. It was like the brownest of the brown shooters I've played in a long time.
Ween would be proud.
What?
Ween would be proud.
Oh, is that their thing? Brown?
Browns, yeah. It's just a Ween thing.
Okay, I don't know enough about Ween. But yeah, like, it's just like, I don't want Japan to kind of throw out all the stuff that made them quirky and weird in favor of trying to be America, because I think America needs to change up its game too, or Western development. Like,
right.
We're at a point, yeah, where I'm just like, man, stuff's getting stagnant again. We need something to really change this up. I don't know what.
Well, I mean, that's where the whole indie game thing comes in.
Right, like, I've been looking more and more to them for interesting ideas and mechanics and stuff.
And they deliver.
A lot of the time, yeah. Like, there's some generic stuff happening there too, though. Like, it's just like, hey guys, guess what? Side-scrolling indie platformer. And it's just like, okay. So I jump on the stuff, and it's got a cute art style. I got it. I don't know. Like, some of that stuff is kind of wearing on me too. Like, it's just like specifically, just thinking back to Snapshot. Like, it's just like, this is fine, but
for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, I need something else. Like, you need to have some other thing to compel me to keep doing this, because I've done this before in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I've done most of these things. I don't know. But whatever. I also just want to briefly point out, like, this Resident Evil situation has made me kind of, like, consider the director's role in a, like, video games have been weird for this in terms of like how much authorial role does any one person have
Yeah.
in terms of a game. But considering like I didn't actually know that Shinji Mikami had nothing to do with Resident Evil 5, but
Yeah.
hearing it made sense because it's just like, oh, that's why the campaign was so like just empty. Like there was no the same energy that they managed to build up in 4, like this momentum from like set piece to set piece, but it's always escalating and getting crazier to the
Yeah.
point where it's just like, this is awesome. Like this just keeps going. And like replaying it, the HD mode, like the HD edition, it was like, oh right, after this awesome stuff with the village, there's this cool stuff with the castle, so I want to go do that stuff too. Like it just keeps you going on because you want to see the next big thing that happens. But 5, I cannot tell you like anything that happens. There's like chainsaw dudes. There's a big troll at some point. There's like a truck chase. There's a big bat monster or something. But it all just kind of like melds together into one string of things. I don't know when one thing happens before the other. You know, it's just indistinct. Like there was no standout moments ever in that whole game. So I don't know. I haven't heard that problem leveled at 6 really. It's more just they're saying mechanically it just seems super dated, and I'm trying to think what else was really like the QuickTime events is specifically being cited a lot as just being really not fun.
Okay, the QuickTime thing sounds kind of weird. In response to the dated thing, I'm the guy that likes tank controls. That's not an issue for me.
No, it's not dated in the way like it doesn't play anything like the old games either. Like it plays like a weird kind of hybrid of what they were trying to do with Resident Evil 5 and like sort of trying to be Gears of War but just not reaching that level. Like specifically Chris's campaign, apparently it's just trying to be Gears of War, but the cover system's really bad.
Huh.
I don't know. And like from what like I watched Giant Bomb's quick look of it today, and it looks like they're actively trying to do the Uncharted type thing. Like there's a sequence where it's Jake literally running along the side of a building as a helicopter's shooting up the ramps and stuff. Like that happens in Uncharted 2.
Is he quipping?
No, not really, not as much. Although he's kind of a bit snarky, I guess, because he's Wesker's son and he's got powers or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just like okay. Sorry, this is tangential at this point, but a lot of people are kind of leveling criticisms at Paul W.S. Anderson for some reason because of the game. Like they're like, why are they trying to be like the movie? Whereas I enjoyed that movie, but I also viewed it as kind of like a very astute criticism of how dumb the games actually are.
I like those movies.
I like those movies, but as dumb entertainment, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess that's, here's the thing. Like, if you've been viewing Resident Evil as anything more than dumb entertainment, you're kidding yourself, because it's super silly. Like, they've always been really corny.
Well, even the first game was a game based on, like, not based on, but, like, it was very influenced by the old B movies that they grew up with.
Yeah, and that's fine. But, like, at no point are you supposed to actually really get super invested in Claire and whatever. Like, it's like, these are super generic action stereotype characters. Like, settle down. I don't know.
Why would people get invested in that, though? Because it's like getting invested in Mega Man.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't quite get
what's the story. I don't get why everything needs a story, I guess. Resident Evil, for me, has always just been the fun, dumb, B-rated horror movie.
Yeah, and that's a perfectly fine perspective on it. Like, I don't know. It's like, maybe it's something with video game characters, like, they're so generic that people kind of start putting themselves in it or something. Or just start investing more into, like, thinking about the characters.
Well, see, and that's why, like, in that respect, too, with, like, why is Leon cool now? Leon, to me, has always been the best as the rookie cop that's his first day, and he's trying to deal with this bullshit that's going on. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Like, if I really think about it, like, playing 4 again, like, it's just like, that was the game where after that, it's like, man, Leon S. Kennedy, that dude's badass. And it's just like, no, not really. That game's badass. And you just kind of, like, put that on this character for some reason. Like, you could substitute any character model, and it wouldn't really matter. Like, you're still doing the same stuff. Like, dudes can quip better than that. I don't know.
I think it's because he can kick people in 4.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. It had me thinking about just video game characters in general. And, like, there's just not a lot to most of them. Like, it's like, we got this plucky plumber and he jumps on stuff. And it's just like, that is like our standout go-to guy, and he's like not a character. Like,
And
he's just,
he's barely even a plumber.
yeah.
He's a
Like,
plumber in like the liner notes for the game. Nothing in the game really says that he's a plumber.
yeah. Like, I don't know. It reminded me specifically of Mickey Mouse. Like, he's our Mickey Mouse, whatever that means.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, he's lovable and goofy and fun, but that's it. Like, you know,
And the mascot for the medium, really.
yeah, and that's fine, you know, but you can aspire to write characters still. Like, don't be like, oh, I can never live up to this golden standard we have already with these iconic characters like Mario. It's like, dude, Mario's don't do that.
But then at the same time, it's always okay not to write a serious character and have just the B movie type horror movie thing, which is what Resident Evil has always been. Anyways, going back a little bit to 6 specifically,
Yeah, okay.
the only problem I could see me having is that they have 3 separate things going on. I hope they don't do the thing where they don't give enough time to each one, and they just.
I've actually heard they're quite long. So you get like 6 hours or more with each dude.
Okay, that's fine with
like
me.
it's like 18 hours or more of content, but yeah.
That's okay with me then.
All right, it's just mechanically it doesn't look good, but fair enough. I mean, it literally looked like you're kind of running, and then there's cutscenes with QuickTime events, like
Yeah.
a lot. So I don't know. I have no interest in it. But yeah, fair enough. I guess if you want to really see what they're doing with the series or whatever, go ahead. But yeah, critically, it's in that way video games do, where people still feel obligated to give the new game a 9 despite not liking it, which happens. It's scoring like a 70 right now on Metacritic, but a lot of fans are doing the weird carpet bombing it with negativity. Why does this happen on
Yeah.
Metacritic specifically? Like, it's just like, I heard this was bad, I'm gonna go give it a 0 and then say it's racist or something. Like, there's all sorts of nonsense happening on the internet right now. Okay, it's at 67 critically.
I haven't looked up anything about it because I want to make my own opinion of it myself,
Yeah.
really. But
I get-
I need to know.
Mhm.
Jim Sterling, what's his position?
3 out of 10. He really didn't like it.
That's too bad. He's him and I see eye to eye with horror stuff, so that's kind of a rough hit. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. He explains why too. Like, it's some of the stuff I've been echoing, and yeah, like, I mean, my perspective on it's just based on a really unsatisfactory demo I played, but it seems that does in fact indicate how the final experience turned out. So, whereas at the time I was like, maybe in context, maybe this will be better, but I don't know.
I should also say I haven't played anything of it.
Okay.
I'm going in completely blind, which is why I'm not reading anything about it too. Like, I've only seen a few early screenshots of it,
Mhm.
so
Just,
we'll see.
There's a lot of negativity in the air right now.
But it also brings to light the whole problem I'm having lately with not being able to rent games, because I don't want to spend like 60 to 80 bucks for it.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to play it.
Yeah. Like, I just before this, my hand was kind of forced to buy Spec Ops: The Line because enough people have said really interesting things about the narrative of that game.
Did you actually buy it?
I bought it, but I would have preferred to pay $10 and see what I needed to, you know, like, play through it one time, be like, huh, interesting.
I
And
think
then
some
that's it.
business models need to change. I think Steam has to do something like Netflix, where I'd be happy to pay them like 20 to 30 bucks a month to have
I don't know if it's
access to their game library.
Steam's already been crazy generous. I don't know if I'd lean on them to be even more so, but
I think at this point they're the only ones that can change business models because they're the only ones that are gutsy enough to do it. They're the whole reason why PC gaming's a thing again.
that's totally true. Ugh, man, I don't know. But Resident Evil, it's perhaps not going to do well. I'm not sure.
It probably won't, just straight up.
Next story kind of pertains mostly to me and my interests, but I'll go through it quickly. Basically, the sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, aka the greatest movie ever made, has been greenlit. It's going to happen. It's called Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and they've kind of released some further details about who's going to be helming it. It's Matt Reeves, who directed Cloverfield and Let Me In, which I had minor issues with both of those movies, but they were generally pretty good.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, like I actually admired quite a bit about Let Me In, but they did the worst CG effects I've seen in a movie in a while that just totally undercut some moments that would have been really good, but maybe that was a budgetary thing, I don't know. I guess, yeah, like I was a little bummed out initially upon hearing that because I really was impressed by what Rupert Wyatt did with the first one, but I guess he's still pretty green. Like he's only done like 2 feature films, and he was just like not comfortable with the 2014 deadline,
Yeah.
so he flaked out kind of. Like he's just like, dude, a movie in 18 months or whatever, I can't. Whew. And it's just like, all right, get out of here, rookie. Matt Reeves stepped in. And they've bolstered the writing team with Scott Z. Burns, which I looked into what he's all about. He has done 2 of my favorite Soderbergh movies, Contagion and Informant. So I was pretty happy about that. That guy's pretty good.
Cool.
So, and specifically like that he did Contagion. Like there's this whole virus thing they do in Rise of the Planet of the Apes that seems like oddly like, oh, weird. That's like his thing. So okay. So yeah, and Amanda Silver and Rick Jaffa, the writing team of the first movie, are staying on too. So hopefully it'll just build off all that stuff I liked about the first one. So yeah, that's happening. Question time?
Yeah, we got quite a few here. I guess we'll start with the Twitter ones.
Okay.
Okay, so Handsome Fat Man on Twitter, he's asked 2 questions. So one part of the first one pertains to me, and it was from 2 weeks ago when I was in Edmonton for the weekend.
Okay.
And he asked me, did you enjoy your time in Edmonton last weekend? The answer is yes. It's always a kind of a nice vacation to leave the city and then just chill out at my parents' house. They, like, make dinner and all that stuff. I don't have to worry about anything. It's nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Also, in Dredd 3D, why didn't Dredd take the shot across the balcony at Mama?
I don't remember this moment.
After he lays to waste everybody on that side when they're going to confirm the kill after the Gatling gun thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He just kind of like looks at her.
Oh, when he throws that dude just as kind of an act of defiance and then heads back into the dark?
Yeah.
I think because they still have chain guns, it was more just he's making a statement, right?
Maybe. What I read into it is that he is still the hand of the law, and he has to read the rights or whatever.
Oh, okay. So
I think he wanted it to be
punch, shoot somebody.
No, because I think with everyone he killed, except for like the people going after him, because it is the punishment for is death. If you're trying to kill a judge, they can just retaliate.
Yeah.
But like with the other ones and stuff, when they were hiding behind the wall and he has like the smoke grenade or whatever, the flashbang there, like he still says like you have 10 seconds to comply, and he reads the rights out to like people.
Oh, okay.
So I think it might be just a duty thing, or it might be a personal thing where he wants to get up close and finish it.
Right.
Or you know what? He might actually not even know the situation. Like maybe he was thinking that she was like a mastermind enough to devise something where like if he killed her, like the whole place would blow up, like she tried to do or was going to do or whatever. So like you never know. There's a few things in there. Probably more than anything, I would lean towards it's just part of his duty, not to just randomly murder people.
Okay. Whereas I think it's badass to be all defiant and keep you alive until it's the time. But I don't know.
That too.
Yeah.
Okay, so
another question from same dude.
Yep. Why is Metal Man weak to his own weapon? Dude, they're giant flying razors.
That would hurt anybody.
Yeah. Like they're saw blades. Fast spinning saw blades. Kill anybody.
Which Mega Man is that from?
That is 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. I don't have any. Mega Man, dude. I don't know.
Okay. So Kid Zeus on Twitter.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever considered having a fan on the show? I'm not against the idea. The problem with having a fan on the show is that the way we're going right now, like maybe when we started, I'm trying to go for a little bit more of a professional thing. I'm getting like sound levels before we start, and I'm trying to keep, like, we have show notes. We're trying to get things kind of down pat with ourselves first.
Right.
And bringing in a wild card, as it were, is not in my best interest or the best interest of anybody that listens to the show right now. It's just kind of the way it has to be. But you know what? If you're a big enough fan and like we've talked enough times over Twitter or over Steam or Skype even or whatever, I wouldn't be against it, really.
Okay.
There's one of the podcasts I listen to is called /2 Podcast. They do a super fan show every now and then where they get into a Skype call, or not Skype call, sorry, a Mumble call, like a Mumble server, and it's just literally 20 to 30 guys in the call, and they're just recording and chatting. That might be something we could look into as like a special one day.
That sounds like chaos, but yeah, I was thinking, Skype calls during a live stream or something would be a good thing, or maybe a question segment with Skype, but...
Or maybe we'll have something planned for episode 50. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Hebrew Lantern. Are either of y'all Whovians?
I am not, but that could well happen.
Yeah. The thing with me is that first, I want to get into Doctor Who really badly, but I also want to see the evolution of the show. And it's been running for, 30 seasons?
Well, I don't know if you really need to go back to the 70s stuff, but if you want to do that, I guess.
I want to, and every...
people are saying, you can start with, Eccleston or whatever. That's, when it came back. And then there's, 9 seasons of stuff.
The thing is,
come back. So it's still a lot.
It's somewhat maybe narcissistic, but since we do this thing with media... I kind of want to have a leg to stand on with comparisons with the different doctors if I'm going to be talking about it.
Okay.
For my own personal enjoyment, sure, I could start wherever. I'm not really worried about that. I would like to be able to get a good sense of what each doctor was like and, the differences between them and maybe, the evolution from the 70s till the new stuff now. So, just as a personal interest thing and, I guess semi-professional for our podcasting and writing needs and stuff, I would like to have that frame of reference.
Okay. Whereas I'm told Matt Smith is where it gets hella good, so I'm probably just going to skip to that.
Okay.
Because Stephen Moffat is the showrunner, and man, if we... the reason this podcast keeps getting bigger is I keep forgetting I've seen stuff. I watched the first episode of Sherlock Holmes. I won't get into it, though. It's good. I'll keep watching it.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get into... That's on my list of stuff to get into.
Yeah, Moffat puts on a hell of a show, so... I don't know. I'm interested in the last 4 seasons, specifically. I'm told that's a good place to jump in, because every new Doctor is kind of a refresh, like a restart. So you can get in there with minimal damage. But, yeah, if you want to build up a huge appreciation of everything that's ever happened, get all those in-jokes...
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to watch all of it.
Some Inspector Spacetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, then Community will probably get funnier by proxy. I also watched the latter half of season 3. Whoa. Media, dude.
Media.
So good. Anyway.
Okay.
Let's move on.
So, on to the next stuff. Was it no, it was the week Borderlands 2 came out. No, sorry, Torchlight 2 came out. So a week ago? 2 weeks ago now?
2 weeks ago now? I
2
don't
weeks
know.
ago
I was
now.
in the school zone.
Right.
Yeah.
In the school zone. Anyway,
I was walking
you were going 30.
Yeah, 30. No, more than that.
No more than that. And you weren't on your cell phone or speeding or anything.
Oh, dude, no, of course not.
Anyways, I wanted to do a promotional giveaway. Basically, I had about $60 roughly, the cost of a new game at the time. And I figured what better way than to do some promotional stuff, see if we could get some readers on the site and just gain some community and stuff like that and give back to some people that have been following us for some time. So we put up a contest here to give away either 6 copies of They Bleed Pixels at $10, 3 copies of Torchlight 2 at $20, or 1 copy of Borderlands 2. But the thing was, I wanted to get at least 50 active people in on it. We only reached 33.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of too bad and kind of a shame. But as a kind of like thanks for participating thing, we were deciding to give them one last chance, and the people that had already signed up, we'd be giving away some copies of the Humble Indie Bundle 6 that came out.
Yeah, it was a pretty good pack. I picked that up.
Yeah, not too bad. So I have 4 copies of that, and we asked readers to submit some questions to us in the thread there, in the comment thread. And Nathan picked 2 winner questions, and I picked 2, so I guess we'll just read them out and then answer them, and then after you hear this on Friday, October 5th, I'll be contacting people via email that have won, and I will give you your codes.
All right.
So, who's our first?
First up... Wait, what is happening? Why am I hearing music?
What?
Sorry, I'm hearing weird music. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, figure it out. I'll cut this part out. So when you're ready, just say first up and then continue.
What the hell's... What is going on? Ah! Oh, what the hell? Oh, this Chaos Theory trailer just started playing. I don't know. Alright. Hey, okay. First question's from Jude Death. I will say it was hard to choose. There was a lot of good questions, so thanks for that. But okay, this one stood out. What do you think makes a great licensed game? What do you think the best licensed game, in your opinion, is? Like, what's the best one? I basically picked this one largely because, Dredd conversation. I figured we'd be talking about making a great licensed game out of that.
Right.
What makes a great licensed game? Just, I don't know.
Solid source material.
I guess, like, solid, like, source material that's consistent with the game you want to make, but, like, also just kind of boiling down that subject matter into the things that are cool about it, and then employing them in the video game medium,
like
whatever.
Like exploring different aspects of it, not just recreating the license
Right,
material.
like, you can just do, like, hey, fan service the game, which I guess is some of the criticism people keep leveling at the new Transformers games, even though they're supposed to be okay, but... Yeah, you got to just tap right into the heart of what makes that thing cool. And I also wanted to bring up the Arkham City games, like Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, as being like the standout examples of doing that really, really well. Because, like, it's the first, like, everyone said this, like, 3 years ago when it happened, but it's the first thing that captured, like, how badass it should feel to be Batman. Like, you drop down into an environment and dudes are, like, flipping out because it's the Batman.
And at the same time, you are still totally exposed and can die.
Right, because, like, if he gets shot, like, he has to rely on stealth and stuff. Like, the mechanics all made sense for Batman. Like, they really thought hard about what makes the character work, what makes it cool, and made that interesting. So, with any license thing, like, you could kind of strip it down and just be like, let's make a third-person cover-based shooter about Heat or something. But if they were to do that, that'd be kind of a shame because it's not getting into the cool stuff about that. I don't know why I chose Heat as an example. I guess because Gearbox was talking about making it for a long time. But for that, I guess you'd probably want to have the 2-character dynamic be part of it or something. You know, you need to kind of make a bullet list of what's good about the property and then put those in the game in some form or another.
Right.
I don't know. Like, it's like a puzzle every time when you approach a new license to kind of get it right, but it's worth it because, like, there's all this legacy you could tap into that would make that thing extra awesome. And if you don't quite make it, it's kind of just depressing. Like, I haven't been playing the Spider-Man games for a while, but those seem to be kind of like weird near misses every time. You know, like, there hasn't been one that people have universally been like, this is exactly what it should be like to feel like Spider-Man. This is amazing thing. Like, if they get it right, though, one time, that'll be, like, a big thing, because a lot of people out there like Spider-Man. They just have to convince them that they should also be playing this video game.
Right.
Like, make it feel like you're the guy. I don't know. Any thoughts on the whole thing from you? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to go back a little bit further, back into my childhood.
Okay.
Basically, there was a while there where Capcom was making amazing Disney games on the
Yeah.
NES and forward.
Hmm.
So, like Aladdin on the Sega is one standout one that was great. I loved.
I played the SNES one, but yeah.
One of my favorites was the NES Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the first game,
Hmm.
and I also loved DuckTales. So back in the day, they had it right. I'm not really sure what it was. I think maybe it was just the whole like I was a kid back then, and this was stuff I could relate to. Like these were the characters I saw on the TV, and I
Right.
was playing with them, but it wasn't in just like an episode thing. They were doing their own thing with like the characters and the source material.
But they made like mechanically good games out of that stuff. Like, you just reminded me of they also did some Mickey games, and I really enjoyed a couple of those. Magical Quest.
Magical Quest is still one of my favorite games on the
Like I just
SNES.
Yeah, I remember just like having a legitimately really fun time playing that game. It had some really cool mechanics in it and different suits and stuff that he would wear over the course of it.
Yep,
And yeah, like it was just like this is a well-made game that happens to use Mickey Mouse as kind of its central figure. But actually, yeah, like briefly on that, I guess it's a less fun game in terms of mechanics and gameplay and stuff. But Mickey Mania kind
yeah,
of tried to tap into the legacy of the cartoons and stuff.
yep,
Like it would just be like you're kind of guest starring in different iconic moments from Mickey's film career, which that was a neat idea too, to just kind of marry it to this like appreciation I had as a kid already about this cartoon character. I it was weird because I was already kind of dismissing him as a character, but he's an endearing, fun-loving guy, and
mhm,
yeah, kind of managing to build off that and make that work for you. Like it ideally a licensed game shouldn't be depressing every time it happens. It should be like, I love this movie, I love this game too. This is great. I guess Scott Pilgrim would be another quality example. The new one.
totally. Uh huh.
Yeah. Like it's like that that movie has all this kind of old school video game humor and sensibilities in it, and then they're like, what better way to express that than a River City Ransom type game?
Totally.
Which yeah, like they did that right. They thought about it. They're like, what can we leverage to make this really fit? And they did it right. And Managichi, dude, it was a good
And
soundtrack.
Darkwing Duck
Was
on the
that a good game?
NES. It was
Oh, there
fantastic.
was a Game Boy one that I played, but
I think it was about the same. It was like
okay.
the same thing. It's basically like a Mega Man clone.
Hmm.
It's a really good game though. You should check that out.
Man, like I guess like they're still trying with Mickey Mouse. Like he does have that gaming legacy. Like Epic Mickey 2 is coming out, and maybe they'll get it right this time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they keep trying. But I don't know. It can be done. I'd like to see it happen more often though. Maybe with like weirder, more offbeat sources of inspiration though. Like it's just like why would you make a game based on that now? Kind of things like for a while there, they were trying to make a taxi driver game, which
Yeah.
sounded like the weirdest thing ever, and I was kind of opposed to it in some way because it's just like, don't touch films that people feel good about. But then, you could, in theory, make an interesting game about like a psychotic character like that, but I just wouldn't think they'd get it. But that's me kind of just being skeptical. Maybe they'd figure it out.
Yeah, I guess it's important to say too that just having like the characters and the license doesn't like you still have to make a good game. That's
Yeah, you kind of
probably
got to respect your legacy. Like I really like I don't even have I'm not one of those film guys that has tons of love for the Godfather movies. Like I think they're fine, but they were kind of really overstated in terms of how amazing they are.
yeah.
But that game just felt gross. Like I just didn't like
Well,
it.
I
I
was
got
thinking about like the multitude of Simpsons games.
Yeah, like I love The Simpsons a lot, but like they've barely managed to tap into what actually makes that whole thing interesting. Like the movie one was kind of clever, but it was also just kind of a bad platformer.
Right.
I guess Hit and Run was the closest they got. Like it was like just an open world action game that had Simpsons all over it, and it kind of played off of it okay. Like the driving mechanics and stuff were decent enough. That was Radical.
Yeah.
The company. It was also kind of radical, but
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I don't know. What? Yeah, I think we've. I don't. Sorry, I'm kind of hijacked things again.
No, it's all good. So I guess the
Disney.
answer for what do you think the best license or what makes a great license game is making a great game to begin with and then using either nostalgia or something that people are into to supplement that
Yeah, like implementing your tapping
for
into
the
making it like
TLDR version.
sure. There you go. Next question, the one I chose was from Cujo Dog 09. It's kind of more like I don't know, personal, serious stuff. Is there a moment in your life that you feel has affected you in such a way that changed who you are or the way you view life, things, people? If there is such a moment, would you change it or erase it from happening, knowing you would turn out different? Hashtag YOLO. So nailed it.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. It's hard to like pin down a moment. I guess like you shouldn't really ever like I'd change it because there are things that would probably impact. Like it's like I don't go to this school growing up, and it's just like, but then I'd be a really different person. I might not have learned some lessons as profoundly as I did. You know,
Yeah.
that sounds vague, but whatever. I went to a hyper religious school. That kind of really shaped how I was supposed to see everything for a while. But I don't think I would have swung as hard against that kind of stuff if I didn't experience it firsthand.
Right.
So, yin and yang or whatever. Um, in terms of like a specific moment, though.
I don't think I can answer a specific moment. There's too many series of moments in life to nail it down to just one.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like to get really recent for me personally, like that post PAX Double Fine party though, like that was really interesting. Like I don't know, like it's so recent, like it's like who knows, but it just really reinvigorated a lot of things I wanted to do
right.
and thoughts I've been having and stuff anyway. So that could become a life-defining moment, but time will tell, I guess. Other than that, there's kind of just like vague like periods of life. Like I was in a sociology class. I've talked about this though. Like there's like general time period where a lot of changes and introspection and things happen, but it's not like that dramatic moment in the movie where Paul McCartney decides to buy a guitar for the first time or something. Like it's like you don't get that until you have hindsight or whatever on whether or not that was defining or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like 40 years from now when I'm a professional like ringleader at a circus or something like,
Or a
oh,
cult.
yeah, or I'm the new Jim Jones and I've done everything I thought I wouldn't do. Like whatever, like who knows? Your choices from here could go all weird, and it would just be like, wow, that dude in 2012 was so different. I don't know, but as of right now, those are some thoughts on that.
I guess a
And
big moment in my life was when I started learning how to play guitar. Uh,
okay,
it was my first sense of being able to express something without having to talk,
mm-hmm.
which is a huge thing for me. And then that kind of led me into this whole like world where I stopped going to. Well, this came way later on in my life, but I stopped doing the academic courses in school. Like I was in biology, chem, and physics, like all in the same semester, and then I had the maths and stuff. And I'd kind of just started skipping class and going to the art room and like
Mm-hmm.
doing stuff that I liked. And that's probably shaped a lot of the way I view certain things. I mean, all of that was pretty profound. I guess another big thing is I'm not going to get too mushy here, but I met someone specific back in when I was doing that stuff, like in the art room and stuff like that, and they were the first person that I was ever felt like I could be myself around,
Okay.
and that opened my eyes to a whole bunch of different stuff. Like, no, you don't have to put on this facade. Like, if people don't like who you want to be, then fuck them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a huge thing for me too.
Yeah, like yeah, getting comfortable with myself has definitely been a thing that's happened over the last like 3 years. But there's like kind of just little things that have contributed to that. Like I used to apologize a lot for like any time I'd say something, and I still do it sometimes by default. But at one point when I was working in like a group study situation, someone specifically said like, you don't need to apologize. You have good ideas or something. Like, it was just like a little thing to stop me from doing it. But it was like my ideas are good. Like it was like validation is so much more important than I would think it was. It's like
Yes.
Like it's like, oh, I don't need it, I'm fine. And it's just like, nah. But once someone actually says that without, like, you feeling like they had to because they're your parent or they're a friend of yours or something,
Like a
when it comes,
peer. Yeah.
yeah, when it comes from someone more quickly, like it's just like, wow, that means a lot because I wasn't sure, and now I have. It's very encouraging.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't change or erase anything because I like who I am and who I'm becoming, and I don't want to change that.
Like, yeah, and there's no point where it's like, oh man, that was like a stumbling block. I could have accelerated this process. Like, I can't zoom in on that without knowing how that would impact everything. Like whatever.
Yeah.
That's just a thought exercise about determinism or something.
And I mean, I like every success and fuck up I've had. They're my own, and I want them. So I wouldn't change anything.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Nathan's picks, Jude Death and Cujo Dog 09. Congratulations. Now mine, I guess. So Necronoma Gamer, which is one of the best usernames I've seen in a long time. I love it.
Okay.
What is your opinion on DLCs, especially games that start with DLC already on them, Mass Effect and Street Fighter Cross Tekken? Do you feel any outrage towards companies for day one DLCs, or do you think companies do this as a matter of convenience?
Like specifically in those two cases, I'm trying to think what they really did. What was the Mass Effect 3? Oh, dude, that was that. Or no, there was the deluxe edition character thing.
Yeah.
That was really shitty.
Yeah.
Like, because I bought the game and then it's just like I just started playing it because it's the hot new game. I want to play it, and then I keep hearing from everybody anecdotally, like, dude, you screwed up. You should have given them $10 more for this awesome thing that's in there. And it's just like, this had to have been kind of just part of the game months ago. Like, it's not the excuse of, like, the game went gold and then they developed more stuff. Like, this was a core thing that they splintered off into this paid tier for super fans, I guess.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, that specific one felt a little weird. But at the same time, I felt that was like a dumb addition anyway, just from hearing about it, because it's like, at this point in the final chapter, I don't want some new Jack in my team. I want to be rolling with my dudes. I want Liara and Garrus here at my side because I've been with them this whole time.
Right.
Like, I want that payoff. So don't just introduce some new character to comment and basically provide, like, story commentary. Like, I don't know. It just felt like a weird thing. Like, so, and on some level, I didn't feel super burned by it because that would be like a second playthrough type thing. But I don't know. It's still, like, the main DLC related thing in the industry that seems kind of more suspect is the pre-order codes and trying to kind of convince people to go to certain places to get specific costumes and stuff.
Right.
Like, what did Street Fighter X Tekken do? What was their DLC?
Okay, so I'm gonna just go basically with fighters. I'm fine with it, and the reason for this is because for the fighting market for video games, a lot of it's about competition online, and unfortunately with the way things are structured right now, it's ridiculous to not have that sort of, like, you have all these characters that they give you right when the game ships. That's fine. It's usually your main characters like Ryu and Akuma and all those guys. So whatever, that's fine. You all use them and love them. Yeah. The people that want to buy other stuff, they should totally be allowed to. And the company should be allowed to charge whatever they want for additional content, characters, and whatnot based on, like, maybe less of a demand. The reason why they do it for those games specifically is if you remember when Mortal Kombat came out a while ago, people that bought characters basically couldn't use them online. Like, they wouldn't work with people that didn't have those characters, so they had to everyone had to download a patch that was like 500 megabytes or something.
I remember, yeah, the compatibility
pack if you wanted to play online. And for one thing, it's unfair to ask people that didn't want these characters to begin with to have to waste their time downloading this huge thing so that people that you want to use them could play with them. Yeah. And then at the same time, the people that wanted those characters bad enough that they bought them, it's not fair that they don't get to use them.
Yeah, so, that was a weird trip ups
So
online there.
it can go either way with fighting games. It is a little shady, I guess, to just not release every character you can and then release DLC characters as you develop them after the game has gone out.
Mm-hmm.
But with Mass Effect 3, that one I still don't really know how I feel about, because the whole thing for Mass Effect for me has always been the story. And the DLC that they had, the day one DLC with that, was kind of like a spit in the face, because for people like me, and there's lots of us that just really care about the story, like they knew they were going to get an extra $10.
Like they're kind of like holding something hostage in that respect. Like it's kind of like here's the thing I'd compare it to, but it's kind of a different context because it's free to play. Like this seems to be kind of like bolting a free to play like approach, but onto something where you've already given them $60, which is the point where it's just like that's a decent amount of money in this kind of gaming climate now, because I could buy like 20 like indie games if I wanted to with that money. So why won't I, or like go on iPhone and just buy a bunch of stuff for the same amount of
or like
money?
a bunch of cheeseburgers.
Or like or buy Super Hexagon and then like 50 cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
And I spent the same $60, but I'm having so much more fun. You know, like it's just insane. So like the Simpsons game, the one they released on iPhone. This is also EA, so this is why I feel it's kind of like the same people behind these decisions. Like it's free to play though, so it's $0. But then they're kind of asking you to kind of like, hey, give us $10, and then you can unlock some stuff. And you're just like, it still kind of grosses me out because you're paying for nothing really. You're paying for the ability to play the game. But because the entry level is 0, I feel less burned by it than when it's like, look, I already gave you like a huge amount of money, like a pretty sizable sum for this experience. Why don't I just get all of it?
Right.
You know, like it's like they're kind of experimenting with this model and stuff, and they've been doing it for years, specifically at EA with like sports games and stuff. Like, how much will people pay? Like, it's like, hey, if you want the super tweaked out golfer, how much is that worth? How much is that worth for you? You know, it's like,
how much is it worth to unlock the best cars in Forza? How much is it worth to unlock cheat codes so you can enjoy your experience faster?
Right. Like, I think it's like until you see like that kind of impacting the MSRP or whatever, like it's like Mass Effect 3 comes out, it's $40.
Yeah.
You know, and then they're like, hey, but we got all this stuff day one for you. We got these additional chapters. It's like, you know, all right, like that's fine. Or it's like, like some new game comes out on Steam and it's like a $30 game, but then there's this extra layer of stuff, or they keep like, I don't know. It's like there's these weird kind of hybrid games right now that are still pretty expensive, but they have the free to play like get $1 here and there mentality bolted onto it, and that's kind of weird. I don't really feel good about those. Like I think they're just feeling out what they can do right now, though. Like I think the stuff we're seeing now, like it's just experimenting with new business models and whatever. Like it's kind of the same. Like you got those wacky experiments. Like I know it's the most oversighted example of this going wrong that there is, but horse armor.
Yeah.
You know, like that new economy was introduced, and they're like, hey, you know, like someone in Bethesda thought maybe this is a good idea, and then they realized like, okay, that is a limit. That's a hard limit. People aren't willing to pay that much money for this specific type of thing. Okay, lesson learned. But it still looks silly the first time you see it. So, yeah, some of the stuff we're seeing now, like some of the season passes and stuff that are happening, like those are
the way
getting
to
a little
go.
sketchy. But like it's lessons are being learned, feedback is happening, like the MMO feedback that's been happening too, with like, hey, you can't release a game and expect people to pay you $15 forever to play it anymore. That is gone.
Yeah.
Because the whole market has changed because League of Legends and stuff. I don't know who's all doing it, but it's all shifting at all times. But anyway, okay. Is that an answer? Is that enough of a tirade?
I think so. I mean, it's one thing like we could go on about forever. I'm just going to say one thing to finish it off, I guess. You have to remember, DLC is optional content. If you're against the sort of practices a company's doing, the best thing you can do is not pay any extra. The best thing you can do is maybe like even find a way to secondhand your game to a store or something and get something else. Like, hit them where it hurts, and it's the pocketbook. It's not just writing nasty emails. They ignore that shit. They don't care about any of that. So if you don't like something, don't pay for it. But also keep in mind, if you do like something, $10 is nothing to you. If they're giving you something that you enjoy, just think of it as like a little more of something that you like, and remember that the DLC is also helping people keep jobs at these companies. Especially with like the climate we're in for video games right now. Like me and Nathan were talking before we started recording here, I'm not in the mood to even buy games anymore. Like, I love games. I love playing them. I like the experiences I get, and I just don't want to pay $60 to have that anymore. Just straight up.
I do it really rarely now. Like, it's like the experience I will pay $60 for has to be one like I'm super enthused about.
Yes.
And that hasn't happened that, like, I mean, the last time I did it was Darksiders 2, and I felt a little burnt. Like, at the end of it all, I was like, this didn't quite add up to everything I wanted, and I paid, like, $60.
You paid the premium, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like, I went all in on this being something I'd really get something out of, and I didn't quite get that, so... Yeah, I've been a lot more comfortable with kind of the Steam approach, like, just $5-10 things here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe wait for a big sale on the new thing or whatever. I don't know. It's definitely like a lot of stuff's happening. I don't know. It's gonna look a lot different in 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm. So I guess just be more informed. Know what you like. Know what you don't like. Don't pay for what you don't like, and think about throwing some extra money for what you do like. This is why the free to play model actually works. Mm-hmm. Because, like, say I fall in love with League of Legends tomorrow. It's been out for like 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
Say, like, all of a sudden I'm like, no, I have to play this. It's free. I have it on my computer right now. I don't have to pay a thing. However, if I like it enough, what's $5 for a character I'm going to play in the game I like? I've only spent $5 for a game I love. What's another 5 for another character? What's, like, 10 for 2 more?
It's the same reason I didn't have any issues really giving some money to Double Fine for Middle Manager of Justice, because it's like I was having a good time and I like that company. And it's something I felt totally comfortable with. I was just thinking, like it's all relativity. Like, it's like, from the outside, it's like, why the hell would anyone pay any money for wrestling characters? That's stupid. But that's because I don't care about wrestling games. To that person, that makes sense. Like, they would look at me and be like, dude, if there was Deadly Premonition DLC, I'd buy that shit day one. I don't even care what it is. It's a new hat, done. You know? Like,
yeah.
If you're invested enough in your thing, like, the smallest things from the outside would seem exciting. Like that fortune pack in Far Cry 2, I was stoked. It's just a silent shotgun.
Yeah.
But that's all I want. So, I don't know. That's enough for me to justify the additional expense. So, yeah. Relativity, man. It's fun. I just also like talking a lot. I gotta ease up.
All right.
3 hours.
Yeah, so on this DLC, I mean, companies shouldn't hold stuff for ransom. That's just kind of evil. But other than that, just don't pay for it if you don't like the practices. It's as simple as that. Okay, so the last person I chose, it was actually a late submission. It was just today. It was probably within the time it took me to get from the office home, actually. Yo Dragonfire. And they said, since I'm new here, what is Pixel Response about? What is your favorite game/game series?
Okay.
So, Pixel Response started in 2006. It was a blog I was keeping as part of an assignment for a class called MAD-T, which is Media Arts and Digital Technologies. And it was part of our, like, grade at the end to be keeping a blog on all the, like, stuff we do with technological stuff and arts and stuff like that. It was at the art college and whatnot, and it was part of a new media type of thing. Since then, it's pretty much went from a personal blog for that, where I just wrote my thoughts about random movies and stuff I was watching and music I was listening to and stuff I was doing in art school. I got some other friends in on it, and we started writing about games more heavily. This is when Destructoid really started taking off, and we liked the idea of just, like, a community blog where a bunch of us could get together and write a bunch of random stuff and throw them all together and let people read what we thought. Then they kind of ditched out. They got busy with their own lives, and I kind of stopped using it too. And now it's just kind of like a personal brand I've been using pretty much online. It encompanies pretty much everything I'm into, so that's what it is, I guess. So
Whereas, okay, like I'm newer to the whole thing, so I've been trying to think through kind of like specifically I filled out my LinkedIn account yesterday, and had to kind of put down some stuff about it. I don't know, like what I think we're trying to like just media is equal here. Is that fair? Like we're
yep,
trying to kind of put everything on a similar place where we can talk about everything as seriously, which can sometimes result in really really long conversations.
yeah. I mean,
But you know,
in the same thing here, we talked about binary domain. I probably got a little too specific about things they probably mistakenly put in there.
mhm,
We talked about Dale and Tucker versus Evil.
yeah.
Like, in this podcast alone, I mean, Nathan talks about ponies like it's the next best thing. So, like,
In this one?
no, not in this one. Just
Okay, I was like,
just in
when
general.
did I do that? Okay, okay.
I think it's
Season
just
3, woo!
I think it's just the idea. Like, it's actually a really good question. This is why I chose it, because it made me really think about what are we about.
Well, I just think media is like a lot more important influence on people than they sometimes think about, or something. Like I don't know.
And it,
Like I don't want to get like too serious. Like we're like I wrote a giant page long thing about Fart Cat. Like it's not, you know, this is important heady stuff that writes the future or whatever. It's just I don't know. I'd like to be able to kind of point my own spotlight on things I find interesting, and this is a means of doing that.
right.
And that's kind of why I want to like. I guess we shouldn't really announce features or whatever, but we're gonna try to kind of have more influence or like more insight into the indie game scene that's happening.
Yeah.
That's kind of just a thing we're interested in. So yeah, and we have the freedom to do that because we decide what we want to look at. So I don't know. And yeah, and I think movies and games kind of have an interesting relationship.
I think if you were to ask
to be explored.
what it's about, it's our stepping stone into an industry we know nothing about.
Well, I think
Or
we
not.
know
I mean,
things.
we
But
know things about media. We don't know anything about the industry. Like, how am I trying to phrase this now? We're getting more of a working knowledge on how to express things we think and feel and learn about the industry at large. And I think this is the medium to do it. It's just kind of
a
actually
testing ground, or
actually, if you would call it anything, it is a hub for the content we produce based on our interests.
okay,
If you want to get clinical.
okay,
Yeah, so it's just a means of putting our ridiculous stuff that we do together into one place so everyone can make fun of us or agree with us or hate us or whatever.
like,
It's
like
all
a record of it.
it's all good. It's an archive of the times, I guess.
It's like the behind the scenes of who we are. No, I don't know.
It's pretty much just the most important thing. We're getting way too pretentious about this right now.
Right.
It's a site about stuff.
Yeah, it's like, what is the Matrix? What cannot be told what the pixel response is. It is everything and nothing.
Yeah.
It is all things to anyone. Yeah, okay.
In
It's
fact,
a website.
it's a
pretty
website
good.
about stuff.
Yeah, there's a pony forum on it if you want to share your thoughts on the ponies. I'll reply.
And what is your favorite game/game series? That's a little too big for me to answer. One of my favorites, of course, is all of the Resident Evils. I've been a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of the Silent Hill games. Pretty much any survival horror game, I pretty much love. The Metal Gear Solid games.
Okay.
It's too big to discuss everything. So,
Alright. If I had like a go-to series that I think has done the most interesting things, it might be Metal Gear Solid,
okay.
maybe.
Yeah.
Runner-up, that Far Cry 2 series is really good.
Yeah.
Not Far Cry. Far Cry 2.
Right. Gotcha.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, it's just, that's a huge question. I really like what the Borderlands series so far is doing. Like,
yeah. Like, if you really wanted to, yeah.
as much, like, as crazy as the fan bases are, I do like the Halo games quite a bit. I mean, I still like things about the Call of Duty games. Like, it can be an all-encompassing
Like, 'cause
question.
gaming is such a big, different thing. Like, it's like you kind of go to different games for different things. So it's like, you know, Metal Gear Solid is my favorite, but I like Burnout Paradise a lot. But it's totally different. Like,
Right.
you know, they provide totally different things, but they're both awesome. So So I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Right.
But yeah, those are some great ones though. I don't know. We've been talking for a long time. Thanks for hanging out, listening.
Yeah, it's great to have you back.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah, like it's just been I've been storing up thoughts for weeks aside from all this linguistic stuff. I didn't even really get to go into that stress of writing 3 giant essays in 3 days or whatever, but
yeah.
that was a thing that happened.
But then it feels so good when you're done.
Man, yeah, October 1st, it was just like, it's over. It's over. I got the email from my teacher. She said she got all of them. It was just like...
Then you can breathe
free.
again.
I can do whatever I want. I can go eat a shawarma and go to the museum. Whatever, man. It's awesome. I gotta go to work, though, so... Yeah.
So we'll wrap this up now. You can find us on Facebook. It's now facebook.com/thepixelresponse. Thank you to everybody that's been liking the page. It's great to have you guys jump on board. Email address, if you want to email us, is podcast@pixel-response.com. On Twitter, you can hit us up at the main thing at pixel_response. You can get me at exposure, EXFAUXSURE. You can get Nathan at Krasnor at KRAZNOR. As always, listen to us on Stitcher. If you don't want to download the episodes, they make them all small and tiny for your phone, so you don't have to worry about bandwidth and streaming. It's a great thing. As always, visit pixel-response.com for more, including a new forum. And sign up. I close off comments to people that aren't registered, so join the community, put your thoughts in. We're trying to start something here.
Perpetually pondering ponies, dude.
That's right.
It's real.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess look forward to some indie stuff coming up, starting with Mental Drift. So we should maybe be the first people on the internet having video of that.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But that'll be coming. So we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Well, what I'm saying is until we find a way to make it so like people don't take a shit.
Yeah.
Like we're all on the same level. We're all disgusting just creatures.
I know, yeah. Like it kind of just made the world more accessible in a way.